Yeah. Hi, everybody. This is Quick Resume, episode 47. We've got a heck of a lot to speak about today. We hope you missed us as we weren't here last week due to some sickness on my end. But today we're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be talking about Xbox outselling the PlayStation 5 for the first time. Yeah, I think it was in Europe in a long time. We're going to be talking about a possible new Halo mode. Perfect Dark. What's happening there? Everybody's leaving. What's going on? The initiative that is. There's Overwatch news. Is there new Xbox hardware? It goes on and on, quite frankly. My name's Deck. That's Tim over
Hello.
there. And we're the Quick Resume Podcast, if you haven't been here before. So we'll start with our little check-in. Timmy Wimmy, how are we?
Yeah, good man. Good. Yeah, it's a shame we missed last week, but I feel like we've missed we've both managed to delay an episode or two due to illness now. Because I think I did it not that long ago, but you know, that sort of stuff just gets in the way.
I'm surprised I didn't have COVID because I had like all of the symptoms for it. I had like the fever, I had like a cough. I was like, I wasn't so much like breathless and I could still smell stuff, so that was good. But like I had everything else and I was like, oh, this is for sure COVID. It just wasn't. And it lasted like 2 weeks. So
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't
I had something quite similar where I started off with like fever symptoms and I was like sweating it out and all that sort of stuff, and then it kind of just developed into like just a cough, blocked nose, sort of cold sort of thing, and then I had a cough for like was like almost a month or something. So maybe we had something quite similar. It's just this sort of bug going around and you just caught like right at the end of it or something. But yeah,
it might have been. It's quite funny because I'm like, as I do some of my work over, like most of it I do over the phone, but some clients like to do therapy over face to, like, you know, over video chat, and like some of them I'd be like absolutely fine, and then we'd hit like the 15-minute mark of like a half an hour session, and I'd just like profusely start sweating, and I'm like, can I like turn my resolution down or something like on the low so they don't see I'm sweating?
Yeah, that is kind of rough. Yeah.
Better than working in person, though. I suppose.
Yeah, true that. But hey, thank God it wasn't COVID. So you know, you did it, man.
I think I'd have preferred COVID, to be honest. It was really rough.
Yeah.
Like, the one time I've had it, allegedly, because my test never came back. It was like I got a mixed result, but my partner had it, so it must have been. It wasn't bad. Like, it was really just fine. Like,
yeah,
it was like a cold, a bit of achiness. Lasted about 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
So I think that must have been like Omicron.
Yeah, well, I just
Omicron.
think that's just COVID these days now. With everyone being triple vaxxed and stuff like that, I think when you catch it, especially at our age, I just think it's just sort of like you just shrug it off as like a bad cold these days, or like just a regular cold.
Well, maybe, but supposedly the newer variants aren't as bad as the original ones, are they?
Yeah, they're not. Yeah. But
Delta.
I even think even if you managed to catch an original with everything, I still don't think it'd be as bad as it was. As if you were to catch it with no vaccines or antibodies in
hopefully
your body.
Not.
So,
hopefully not.
But yeah. But apart from that, you know, it's been a couple of weeks. Nothing too much has changed in my life. Standard sort of work stuff and Elden Ring, really. I haven't really been doing too much else, to be honest. Did we? I'm trying to think if we did boot up another game. No, we were thinking about potentially doing like another like Among Us party game night, weren't we? But I don't think that ever happened.
No, it never happened in the end. Yeah, I just wanted to because you know I just get there and you play like been playing like a lot of solo Elden Ring. I'm like, kind of want to play something else. And I almost jumped on Apex yesterday after like you went off, but everyone else went off as well. I was very tempted just for the sake of like
because it's
playing with some friends.
Exactly. As good as Elden Ring is, it's a masterpiece. 10 out of 10. Freaking love the game. But like, you know, there are other itches that you need to scratch. You know, sometimes you just want to play a multiplayer game. Sometimes you just want to just shoot stuff and just mess around. And I have to admit, I played Apex the other night with a couple of mates. I think it was last night or during the day or something. And yeah, it was fun. It was fun just to hop on and just do something else. Just sort of play an FPS instead of a third person sort of RPG. It's a nice change of pace. But yeah, apart from that,
I very almost got our friends on Halo. Very almost. Didn't quite get there, but it was very close.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely not going to get Caden on, but you might get other people on.
I think he was the closest.
Really?
He brought it up.
That's really
Yeah.
interesting because he's outright said that even in its prime and when he was doing the battle pass, he never really liked it. I don't think he ever finished the battle pass. Like genuinely, I think he only got to like 60 and he just stopped playing and said he wasn't having fun. So
Yeah.
how weird.
Get good. Get good.
But yeah, that's about it from me.
Same.
What about you?
No real changes on my end. I've just been playing a whole lot of Elden Ring. I'm like nearly at the end. I've been like, it's been annoying. I haven't been able to like exercise as much as I have wanted to because I've been sick. So I've just had like extra time on my hands to just been playing just play Elden Ring, and I'm like, yeah, I'm coming up to the end now. I'm like soul level 150 or something.
Wow.
And having a fantastic time with it. As everybody's already said, nothing new really to add. The only thing I will add, I think, maybe is that I haven't really. I'm sure some of the community is speaking about it, but I'm a bit salty that they butchered invasions a little bit.
Yeah,
I think they made up for it really well with there being like a lot of NPC invasions, but like it's a bit sucky that when I like, because you can buy the rings and I have them on at all times just so like I can get summoned into other worlds. But when that happens, it's always a 3-on-1. So for anybody who doesn't know, in other Souls games, you could you could invade as long as you and the person you were trying to invade was like not hollow. Like what's the term for
Embered.
it? Embered, yeah. So there'd be like a consumable you would use to give yourself more health, and you'd have like that would be your like full form. And if you die, you'd lose that form, and you'd have less health. And when you were in that full form, you could be invaded. That was like essentially, the channels were open. So that was always the risk reward of using that item. In this game, in Elden Ring, you can only be invaded if you have if you already have someone else in your world. The only exception to that is if you've used the Taunter's Tongue, which is like an item that says, invade me if you want, which is like, why is anyone ever going to do that unless they're just, wanting to PvP?
Yeah.
So it does take away a bit of tension in that you don't get as many NPC invasions. Player invasions. And also you can't invade because there are so many times I get summoned in with a ring and I'm like, let's go. And like before I even find anyone, they're dead because it's like a 3-on-1.
Yeah,
it's like
it's
well, what was the point of that?
It seems very one-sided. I think even without the rings that you're talking about, where it's like essentially what this ring is that you can purchase is if you're just playing solo, Deck's just playing solo, and I'm playing with another friend, one of our friends, whatever, we're 2-player. I get invaded for whatever reason. If Deck is nearby or is a relatively similar level, I don't know how it works, but he basically just gets pulled in because it says another player's in trouble and he gets automatically pulled into the world. And that's what creates this 3-on-1 that he's talking about. But aside from that, even if you're not wearing the ring, best case scenario is an invader. You're kind of looking at a 2v1, which is still unfair, in my opinion, because as an invader, you have less Estus flasks, all that sort of stuff, where the host has like 10 or whatever, or however many he has, you only come in with like 3 or something like that.
Same amount you would as if you were summoned.
And like, sure, you can play it smart as an invader. You can you can like hide out in like an enemy lucrative part, where you can use the enemies on the map, the non-player controls and stuff like that to help you. I think we just got cut off, but I'll try.
We did. We'll pick up from there.
Basically what I was saying is it just seems unfair for the invader, right? Best case scenario, you're looking at a 2v1 with less health, less mana, all that sort of stuff. It just seems a bit harsh because in previous Souls games, you had this sort of, there were loads of ways to do invasion for a start, and maybe we haven't unlocked all of them. Maybe there is like a specific area that's dedicated to PvP, kind of like the wolf. I think it was called like the Wolf Garen Keep or something in Dark Souls 3. And it was like a specific area where people just put down their signs. You had 1v1s, maybe that's a thing in this game. But as of now, it just seems a bit unbalanced. It seems a bit unfair anyone wanting to partake in PvP. There's no like honorable 1v1s anymore and stuff like that.
Well, you can just put like blood signs down, for invasions, and people can summon you in, and there are like summoning
Yeah,
pools around the place, so you can do like those honorable, and there are it shows you on the map where the hotspots are. So I don't think that's a
yeah.
problem. I think the game loses the tension of like sudden invasions,
Yeah,
and
that fear of, oh fuck, I'm carrying 30k and I'm by myself. Where's this invader?
yeah,
You know, I'm always there with you, sort of thing. And it's just like most of the time when we're actually playing co-op, we find it. We call it just like the rune cheese. Like we just
yeah,
pop a taunter's tongue every single time because we want people to invade us because it's an easy kill. I don't think we've ever been wiped by an invader, and we get whatever souls that guy's invading with.
and it happened one
So,
time.
what do you mean?
Some
What
mentalist
we
with a
lost?
dagger, yeah, he just parried us and one shot us both. That was it. That's what
Oh
happened.
yeah. Okay, yeah, I do remember that. But for the most part, it's just free runes. It's just like, sweet,
Yeah.
I just got like 10k from that guy or 20k from that guy because he might be really high level and he's just invading with whatever souls he has on him, of runes. Sorry. And yeah, it's just I don't know. I think they could have done it better, and I think it's something they actually might tweak. If I'm honest, I
Maybe.
think it's something they might patch, because that's such a core part of Dark Souls. It's this invasion mechanic has been there since day one. It's kind of what helped sort of launch it off as an RPG as well. It was the first of its kind to just be like this is a seriously hard RPG, so it lures players in, but it was also just this new mechanic of never feeling safe and like another player coming into your world and screwing you over. No other game did that before, so I'd like to think they don't want to tarnish their roots. I do think
Tarnished.
they'll. Yeah, you like
That was
that.
good.
I do think they'll tweak it. If I'm honest, but
Yeah, hopefully. Because I mean, maybe it was part of the whole like like the accessibility mantra that they were like going for. But I still, because there are like loads of people who haven't even got past Margate yet, sort of things, and maybe they just
yeah,
felt actually slowing those people down more. But then I just feel at the same time like when I got like because you don't get like the great runes until like quite a bit into the game, like maybe
mm,
30% into the game. And I just feel like that would have been a good opportunity to be like, when you pop a great rune, you can be invaded.
yeah,
Because they kind of
yeah,
adds that layer of pressure without, the previous Souls where it was like, you're going to permanently lose like up to 50% of your health if you keep dying. Um,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like you're going to lose that extra buff that you have, and you only have limited rune arc. So like you are on a resource here. There's
It's a
good
good shout.
tension.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
good shout.
but that just isn't a thing. And like the thing with the Taunter's Tongue as well is like, so, like not only does it invite other players in, it exceeds the cap for the amount of people allowed in one world. So usually, I think it's like, I think it's 4 total can come in, like 3 summoners and 1 invader. But Taunter's Tongue takes it up to like 6, so you can have like 3 invaders, 3 summoners. It's never
Oh,
happened.
really?
Yeah, it's
That'd
never
be
happened.
crazy.
But
Yeah.
and I think because the game is so big, it it's extra. Uh, it's like damaged like more so because of that, if you know what I mean, because like it would have been, I think this would have been one of the better games to have like open invasions in, simply because there are so many graces. It's not
Mm,
like in previous Souls games there are times, which was horseshit, where you would like die and you'd have to run through like a 10-minute dungeon before you get, and like getting invaded on that and
mm,
dying and getting sent that far back was painful. But because there are so many
yeah.
graces, you have a like torrent for like mobility and stuff like that. I don't feel like it would have been nearly as punishing if you did get invaded and die. It would create a bit of an experience. So
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. We'll see how it goes. But that's as the game's gone on, it's one of the only things that I feel like has been missing. Yeah,
Yeah. I also think the Taunter's Tongue might improve as time goes on. People complete the game and people dedicate a bit more time to PvP, and then you might see triple invasions and stuff like that. But I think people are still just playing the game right now, and like PvP isn't top of their list.
yeah,
So like you might find people actively trying to invade worlds more once they've completed their PvP, they've scratched that PvP itch, PvE itch. Sorry. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's really hard to tell. We're still so early in the game's life cycle, and when it's a game like this, like the life cycle of this game, it seems infinite. In
it's
all
gonna have a
honesty,
long
so
tail. Yeah.
Exactly. It's so hard to tell just quite how like the PvP meta will sort of settle. But just based on first impressions, I think we can both agree it seems a bit, it seems a bit unbalanced. Unless you're super mace cracked, and kudos to man with shield and dagger who fucked us over. Like wherever you are,
Like,
mate,
honestly,
I wasn't even mad. Like when it happened, I was literally just like, well, I think we called him like a no life, but like I was literally just like,
just
yo,
the heat of the
it's
moment.
kind of,
That was,
it's kind of sick. Yeah, that's just some gamer rage, man. Like I didn't mean
exactly.
it. We're bros.
A
I'll buy you a
fucking no
beer,
life.
bro.
Good shit, man. Yeah, really good shit. Well done.
Good shit. Pint? Yeah. Buy a pint.
Piece of shit. Punch you in the nose.
Yeah.
And of course there was an update as well. I don't want to linger on this too long, but like there was an update as well. I just wanted to ask if there was anything in that like caught your eye for the 1.03, I think it was.
I saw that they made some balance changes and stuff like that, which seemed a bit quick in my opinion. But hey ho, maybe that stuff that was kind of broken. I never actually tested it. I saw they added something like a new NPC or something, like a quest line.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
remember reading that. That's kind of cool.
They updated quest lines for like 2 NPCs, and they added like 4 new NPCs or something. Oh no, was it one more? I can't remember. It was. I
think it was one more.
Yeah, something like that. And I honestly think, because they didn't say anything about this, I think this was like didn't make it into the finished product. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't think this is ongoing storytelling Dark Souls, from Soft. I think this is like didn't quite make the final cut, but the game is so fucking big, no one's gonna notice. So yeah, and they added
still
pins
kind of cool
as well on the map.
Pins.
Yeah, for NPCs, you can see where they are on the map now. It will show you on the there's little pins. Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. I had no
idea. You can't filter them, but they're just there automatically. You don't pop them down. Like you'll just be a little square. It'll say like there's a merchant here, or e.g. the blacksmith, or the so.
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, normally most of them are near a grace anyway, but that's pretty cool. Yeah, I actually quite like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty cool update, to be honest. Like for them to pump that out so quick and make quality of life changes so quickly, and regardless of whether or not they just forgot to add that NPC in those quest lines at the beginning of the game, they still pumped it in nice and quick. Yeah, man, like I kind of respect it. I think that's a pretty cool update. I mean, it took us all. I mean, fucking 343 could learn a thing or two. It's taken 4 months to get a freaking 5 months to get a roadmap. But yeah, no, it's a cool update from what I can tell, and it's a good sign of things to come.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have to see how the game evolves. Still going. I'm honestly kind of. The thing is, I have more to play, but it's like more like different games that I want to play, whether it's like Tunic or Guardians of the Galaxy or Weird West or whatever. But like, I'm kind of like, I kind of want to start a new game. Like I want to get into New Game Plus so I can like respec and do something different. It's just like it's just the nature of Elden Ring, because you get to the end of these games and you go through your inventory and you're like, I have like 50 weapons, 90 spells, like 40 ashes of war. I could do so much here. So.
I mean, you definitely shouldn't feel like guilty about any of that sort of stuff. I mean, think how many times we respect in like Dark Souls 2 and 3 and stuff like that. It's crazy. We did it so much. It just helps keep the game fresh, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess I should say as well, before we sort of jump into all the honourable mentions, is that Borderlands is out this week.
Yeah.
I totally forgot. Yeah, Wonderlands, that is. So I mean, we'll be playing that. We'll talk about it a bit next week on the podcast. But from what I've seen, I'm feeling quite good about it. It's been catching my eye more and more. I've been seeing it. It looks like it has the shooting of Borderlands 3, which is awesome. And then it obviously has the wackiness from Tiny Tina's DLC in Borderlands 2. And like this extra sprinkling of like the whole creator character, guns and magic, man. Those two things need to be together, like in more games. Guns and magic,
for sure. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I actually forgot that was coming out. So when is that? Is that Tuesday? I assume it's
Friday.
Tuesday.
I think
Friday. Spicy.
Nice.
I like that. Yeah. and it's not a full price game, if I'm correct. It's like a £38 game or something, I think.
I don't know actually. Yeah,
I
I
don't
assumed it
I
was full price, but I don't.
I don't think it's full price. I'm gonna double check that while we talk.
Do
Um,
it.
I put Tina's Wonderland.
That's good.
Tiny Tina's
Yeah, I'm quite neat
Wonderland.
because I think there are like 6 classes, and you like. I don't know if you just pick one or if you mix two together. I really can't. I'm not totally sure, and it's probably my fault for just being ignorant to it, but like how it works. But like I know there's 6 classes, which is like quite a lot to like start this sort of game off on, like with his own skill tree and everything. So I think it's quite cool.
Yeah, I mean there was what, 4 Borderlands 3. You had Flak, you had Zane, you had Mose, you had
Yeah,
Amara.
and then
I
they
think that's
made the
it.
decision to not make any more characters, which is just
Still think that was a bad decision. Like, sure, I'll take a skill tree. I think we went back for the skill trees, and I think they were kind of cool, but like, it's just not the same as a new character. Like, I had so much fun with Krieg, and I had so much fun with Death Trap, whatever her name was. What was her name? I think it was just,
Gauge.
yeah, Gage. That's it. Yeah, they were fucking great, man. And it's just new personalities, it's new voice lines and stuff like that. You know, that
Yeah,
sort of
that's
stuff
it.
seems small in the scheme of things, but when you play a game like that for a long time, like we did, just having new voice lines and new character models, it really makes a difference to just how you run through the game.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think it was one of the things we said back at the time is like, if you're just adding a new skill tree, like in terms of what I have to do, I literally just go to a respec station and I'm done. I
Yeah,
look through all the skills, like, oh, that
yeah,
sounds cool, brrr, done. And then I play around with it
yeah,
for a few hours and I'm like, okay, well, I guess the novelty's now worn off. Whereas a new character, you start the game again, you hear all the new voice lines and new dialogue, the interactions, you go through that scale of
yeah,
common to legendary weapons, and you like go through that whole and you just don't get that with skill
yeah.
trees.
And you
So
like pick a skill tree and you level it up, and then you're like, oh, this is kind of cool, but then you're like, oh, I actually kind of like the look of the red tree now or the blue tree. So then you go to a respec station and you try that. Like, yeah,
yeah,
100%. Like, sure, it's more work. It's so much more work. Like, don't get me wrong, but I think it pays off more than just adding a skill tree to existing characters. But
right.
yeah,
And yeah, exactly. And I think like it does. I think in my eyes, it like does like harm the long term health of the game, but like more so, it's because I wanted to come. I want to come back to these games like in a year, 2 years time, and there's like 4 new characters. Coming back one at a time. Maybe, but like, oh, here's like the deluxe or free update, whatever it is. And there's 4 new characters. You get all your friends in. You say, look, we can all pick a new character, go from scratch, experience all the new DLC. And that's like a whole thing. Like just
mm,
adding new skill trees doesn't give you that same effect. So that's
yeah.
yeah, it's fine in concept. I like the idea of adding new skill trees. I wouldn't prioritize it over new characters, I guess, is where I would leave that.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Tiny Tina's because I feel like it's going to scratch that Borderlands 3 itch that it just, I don't know, they just didn't quite complete it for me. Borderlands 3, it was a good experience, but I don't think it quite, yeah, I don't think it quite succeeded as much as I would have liked in my eyes. But yeah, so
I
looking
thought,
forward
yeah,
to it.
three was brilliant. But I mean, I always said I don't think it was going to be able to capture the same lightning in a bottle that Borderlands 2 had. And then it came out and it was like the first like proper looter shooter. Now it's like a lot of Borderlands 3's marketing was like, oh, it's not games as a service, even though it kind of is, because that line is so
Mm.
blurry. And so it was like we're going to be traditional, like release the game one and done. But that's kind of like, well, like I'm done now, I guess. I played this back in 2013, but now it shoots better and has better graphics. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't,
Yeah,
and that's fine, but it doesn't hook you for like a long, long time, which is also fine. But it's just like that's what I mean when I'm saying Borderlands 2 is the lightning in a bottle. Of like at the time, it was so gripping, and it was the first to sort of push that looter shooter in its own direction,
yeah.
which 3 just couldn't replicate because they already did it with 2.
Yeah. It was hard steps to follow in, but
Yeah,
I still
exactly.
think they did a good job
Yeah, I agree.
overall.
Yeah, so definitely excited for Wonderland. It'll be a nice palate cleanser, I think, from Elden Ring.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you find you were looking something up online? Did you find the date? Was it the date?
Oh no, it wasn't the date. No, it was the price. And yes, it's full price
Oh,
game.
nice. Okay.
Which still scares me to look and see £65 for a game.
Yeah.
That's a lot. It's a lot of dough.
It's been a whole thing as well because since the Harry Potter, the Hogwarts Legacy game, which we'll come around to, has been announced. That's been announced as a £70 game, and obviously on Xbox, first party games haven't been for that price. Even like Forza Horizon, obviously Halo, just the campaign wasn't either. So for on the Xbox console, that's very alien, and there's been a lot of back and forth of people saying that, oh well, this is PlayStation's fault for raising that up, and everybody's just following suit, which is like I get it. I kind of feel it's pointless to point fingers because like someone would have done it eventually. Nonetheless, the outcome is that it is a lot of money. Everybody needs to be doing game share. Save yourself, find yourself a friend, even if it's. I think there are like whole subreddits and like dedicated to just like finding a rando online and just sharing game libraries. So have a look online if you've done that already.
If you're gonna do that, be cautious, because obviously they can sign into your account and they can buy things on your card and stuff like that. Really do a background check if you're doing that sort of stuff.
You can set passwords and everything, but be set. Be sensible.
If you're gonna do it with a stranger, set a password, set a security question for making purchases, and stuff like that. But I do recommend doing it. It saves you money.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well let's move on to some of the honourable mentions then. Before we sort of get into like the bits and bobs of the news that have happened over the last 2 weeks. So sorry, some of this might be old news to some of you guys, but you haven't heard the quick resume take on it. So that's that's pretty cool. That's worth sticking around for.
Very cool.
The first thing which I didn't want to include as a whole news story was just the PlayStation State of Play that happened last week. Obviously, Hogwarts Legacy was a State of Play this week, so they've had like 2 back-to-backs. But they had like a mini State of Play, which everybody was getting very excited about. And then the day before, they were like, join us for like 20 minutes of like, what's happening in 22, mostly from our Japanese partners. And everybody was like, okay, like expectations are in check.
Japanese partners that for some reason wasn't anything Final Fantasy related.
Tim, it was abysmal. I don't think I'm just saying that.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm just saying that. I watched it. It was horrible. It was truly horrible.
Based on what you told me, I never actually watched it. Like I watched the recent Hogwarts one, of course, but I didn't go back and watch that because you were literally just like it was trash, dude. And then I was reading like the comments online and stuff like that, and people were just like, they didn't even talk about Final Fantasy, and I was just like, I'm not going to watch this shit. Like they didn't even mention Final Fantasy 16. I think that's kind of weird, but that game seems, I don't even know if it's happening, like genuinely. It's so weird.
Saving it for the bigger showcase, I guess.
I mean, they teased us that with like actual bits of gameplay. You saw little bits of gameplay. How long ago was that? That was such a long time ago. That was like 3-4 years ago now. Crazy.
Whoa, no, maybe not that long.
I think it was a few years. Was it
not just last year?
Nah. It was the year before at least.
So you think 2020?
I think it was 2023. Maybe.
What? You think it was shown in 2023?
No, 2020 E3.
Oh.
I'm not just.
Cogs was spinning in my head. Like, have I missed something?
Yeah. Is he a time traveler? No, I'm not a time traveler.
Okay. Yeah. That maybe sounds right. But that would have been just before the release of the consoles, right? So I guess that kind of makes sense.
I think so. Yeah, it was something like that. But yeah, it was a long time ago. Anyway,
yeah,
it was crap.
Yeah, it was crap, and I'm hesitant. So one of the things they showed here, they showed off, I don't even know if it was an exclusive. Actually, I don't think it even was, but they showed off a Capcom game, and then there were dinosaurs, and everybody was like, "Wow, we've been asking for a Dino Crisis. This is it, obviously made by Capcom." And then dinosaurs fell out of a portal in the sky, and then there were dinosaurs time traveling, and then there were anime characters. And then it was not Dino Crisis. It was a game called Exoprimal, which is, by the way, is a shit name. I hate that name. I don't know why. I just really don't like that name.
It's very
boring,
Japanese, isn't it?
What does it mean? Exoprimal. What does that mean? You can't just put together cool sounding words and expect me to like. It's like razors. Like the Gillette Power Force Turbo Ultra Spiral Shredder, and it's like what?
Yeah.
Like, what does that do?
Shaves your face just like the normal one.
Yeah, it's literally just a knife. Anyway, it looked shit. Frankly, I thought it looked dreadful out in 2023. They showed some more Ghostwire Tokyo. There were some previews for that, which are sounding pretty good. That comes out at the end of the. It comes out this week. So reviews aren't up yet, but if I had to guess, I would say low 80s. I would say like 80 to 82. I think.
I have to admit, I think leading up to recent press and recent previews, I would have said probably mid 80s. I would have probably put it at like 86, 87 maybe. But now, I'm probably thinking around the 82 mark, maybe something like that. Which is still obviously fantastic. Like that's an amazing score. And I think that game artistically is one of the coolest looking games I have ever seen, period. I love the look of that game, the enemy designs, like the magic, like all like the hand signs when he's like casting shit. Oh my god, it looks so great.
It does. The animations
obviously
are very nice.
That's not everything, so
I agree. So hopefully we'll have some more to talk about for that next week as well. Spoke a bit more about Forspoken, Gundam Evolution, which is like, I don't even know what people talk about Gundam, and I know that's like robots, like Transformers sort of stuff, but
big boy robots.
And it looked just exactly like Overwatch. It was an Overwatch clone, but with robots. It was mental.
Really? Sounds quite cool.
A TMNT collection edition with like loads of retro games. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Oh, they showed like a Returnal update with co-op, which I thought was actually quite cool. Like given that what's it called? Returnal is a roguelite. I like the idea of co-op roguelites. I like that idea quite a lot.
And like Risk of Rain was great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think there's quite a novel area there, which I don't think is being explored very much at the moment.
Yeah.
And then something called the Starfield Chronicle, which was like a Square Enix like exclusive, and something called Valkyrie Elysium also. And it was like they went into the cabinets in Square Enix and they're like, fuck, like PlayStation are paying us to show something. And they like got out a chisel and scraped something out from the bottom of the cabinets and they just threw that code at the screen. It looked so bad. I mean, actually, maybe I feel I've been a bit harsh, maybe.
People's art here, though. Chill out.
It was a functional game. It looked like Endgame. It looked like Endgame, but it like...
So you're talking about Valkyrie here?
Both of
them. Valkyrie game.
Both of them just looked really like uninspired. It was like fucking giggly Japanese like anime girl was running around doing magic.
What? That's amazing.
And
what's wrong with you?
Anyway, you can watch the trailers yourself. Wouldn't recommend. 2 out of 10. No, 3 out of 10.
Watch the trailers with a box of tissues.
They've got the format down though. PlayStation at the state of play, they do have the format down. Really good. It's very much like Nintendo Direct. They're like, and now we're going to do blah blah blah, and they show it. And I hope you liked that. Now moving to blah blah blah, and they show the next thing. And it's they do have the format down, so I will give them that. But the actual content was disgusting. Sorry, not for me.
Yeah, let's just put it that way. Instead of saying absolutely disgusting, let's just say not for me.
It was putrid. It was absolutely putrid.
God, man.
Okay, well,
wind your neck in.
So for the second state of play, they showed Harry Potter. Thoughts? Did you see the showcase?
I did.
Yeah. Okay. What'd you think?
I watched it all. I really like the look of it. I thought it looked really, really good. I say really, really good. Like, it didn't blow my socks off, but I do think it looks very good. I think it looks like a great single player experience. I feel like everyone's always wanted to walk in the shoes of a student at Hogwarts, and the whole like create your own character, you can make it look like you, all that sort of stuff's fucking super cool. When I saw all that sort of stuff, like the sorting hat and everything, I was just getting flashbacks to when I was a kid.
Yeah, like
that's
nostalgia
great.
vibes.
And Yeah, exactly. And I think like they've from what I could tell in terms of environment, I was quite scared that it might just sort of only be Hogwarts and stuff like that. But from what I can see, there seems like a decent variety of like exploration and environments and stuff like that. Like the forests around Hogwarts, so it's like towns nearby. And obviously you can like fly to them, do all this shit. There's like dungeons and secrets hidden everywhere. But like I don't know. Again, I think I was a bit more. I think I would have been more excited with it if I'm not playing Elden Ring right now.
Yeah, right.
But like
I'm with
Elden
you.
Ring's just spoiled me in terms of exploration and stuff like that. So that was a bit whelming for me. It didn't blow my mind, but I really liked the combat. I thought it looked really cool.
It was quite
Um,
action RPG, wasn't it? It was like,
yeah,
do you
yeah,
know, I was
yeah,
quite surprised. Like air combo. I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you like air juggling
yeah.
people with your wand? Like,
Yeah, I was not expecting that. Yeah, just fucking air. Yeah,
like
like
corner bouncing
corner
people,
joke. Yeah, corner bouncing. That's it. Yeah.
anti-airing. Yeah.
But it looked the combat is actually kind of what did it for me. I thought it looked really cool, and like the whole like animations of like your wizard look like really cool. Like they were quite stylish, and it wasn't just you were just like pointing a wand and being like
Yeah.
die. It was very like swish and flick. You know, it was pretty cool.
Oh,
Um, and what else was I going to say? I was literally going to say something about it, but I forgot.
oh, sorry, man.
Um,
Okay, well, you interrupt me if it comes back.
yeah,
I agree. I watched it and I was like, this is cool. I like very much liked it atmospherically and aesthetically, and I was like, yeah, like in concept, like this is what you want from a Harry Potter game. This is what you want. You want to be your own wizard. You want to fucking explore you want to explore Hogwarts and go on like fun adventures. But I wasn't like nothing about it was like blowing me away. Like I was like this, I like, and even like graphically, it looks like kind of fine. Like I don't know, like I think the direction of it looked good, but a lot of that I don't know, a lot of it looked kind of flat to me. Like I don't know if it was just the stream, and maybe I need to watch it again in 4K. But like it
mm,
didn't look graphically impressive, and it is still like a cross-gen game, so like maybe that's why considering when it comes out at the end of the year, that will be 2 years into the life cycle now of the consoles, and it's still going to be cross-gen. So yeah, maybe
mm,
it's just that. But yeah, I liked the idea of it, and I think it looked good. But I'm not like mega excited for it. And I think along with the lines of what you're saying, what is really going to like damage this game for me, like in terms of any chance of me playing it, is the fact that we had Elden Ring now and it's coming out holiday 2022. Do you know what else comes out holiday
mm.
2022? Starfield. And if I'm picking between those two, I'm playing Starfield. So that's
Yeah,
my other problem. Unless Starfield like
yeah,
really bombs and Hogwarts really shines, that's the only sort of outcome I can see that happening.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, when you compare it, yeah, I would pick up Starfield over this as well. Um, and I would have liked to seen some co-op in it as well. I would have liked to be able to run around and do some
I was
stuff
surprised.
with friends and stuff
I
like
was really
that.
surprised that there was no
Um,
co-op in this.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. We shouldn't be surprised, but like I don't know. Like I want co-op, but then when I imagine co-op, there's a part of me that also thinks, yeah, maybe that wouldn't work. Like I don't know,
I
especially
don't.
with the combat looking like it is, with all like the juggling and all that sort of stuff. I just feel like it would. They would need to change the fundamentals of how a lot of stuff works.
Yeah,
But
you wouldn't be
yeah,
able to
I don't
have
know.
co-op as just like an additive feature to the game that we saw.
Yeah, that we
You'd have to
saw. Yeah,
reconceptualize quite a few things, and I think that reconceptualized version where like this game is a co-op game could be quite cool. But I think a lot of people would be kind of pissed off because it would ultimately have like, well, how do you engage people to play in groups? And be like, well, let's add like loot. Here's a cool new robe.
yeah,
Here's a cool new wand. Here's a new brew. And maybe that does exist in the single player version as well. But like,
it
um,
does. Yeah.
I'm with you. I think it would have to be a bit of a different game to be a co-op wizard experience, and maybe we do get that at some point. But I guess if they want to just focus on that experience of you being a student in Hogwarts and having your own adventure, then that makes total sense as well. So
Yeah. And I guess there was this whole like cliche thing about it as well, where it was just like, which I couldn't help but chuckle to myself a little bit as well when they were showing off. They were just like, yeah, and you're like a wizard that like can use like a mysterious ancient magic that like no one else, no other student can there and stuff like that. And I was just like, great. So I'm just
the
a
chosen one.
I'm just another chosen one. It's just like, I don't know, man. Like, I think it would have been kind of cool to just be a fucking student.
Well, that's
right?
Elden Ring having an impact on you. That is,
yeah,
tarnished.
I guess. Like, why do I need to? Why do I need to have some ancient power that I can use and just like no others? I don't know. That just kind of, I don't know. That felt a little bit flat for me. That it was a bit too cheesy. It was a bit too corny. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, again, when they said it out loud, I was like, I don't know. But at the same, like, I think it makes sense mechanically in that you can do stuff that other like NPCs can't, for that kind of power fantasy angle. And like,
I think it's kind of cool, but
like, there's got to be like
do like trees and shit, man. You could just be like, oh, I want to go down like a fire spell tree, so I can do like I can summon like fire snakes and dragons and like lions and stuff like that. Or it's just like, oh no, I'm going to go down a water one, or I'm going to go down like levitation. Like there's loads of spells, and then you could just like master a certain tree rather than just having some like cop out. You're a chosen one. This magic's like super crazy ancient. You're Voldemort's son. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Turns out you don't have a nose.
Tricked you, pranked you. Yeah, I agree, and I will say, just to sort of close the topic off as well. One thing that I thought was really cool was that they like chose a different time era entirely. I don't know if this is like canon or not, but probably not. But there's like it's 1800s for like Hogwarts. I was like, that is really cool because then they don't have to worry about like having like a fake Snape running around or like a fake Dumbledore or whatever.
Yeah.
And they can just do their own thing in a time space. And I'm also like, I wonder if like we can go out of Hogwarts and like see cowboys and like the Industrial Revolution and shit. That'd be cool.
There's just shit happening in the world.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool. But no, I don't think so.
I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah.
Just go and like help people like make buildings and factories with your wand. Like, is it outlawed in the 1800s? Do they even know magic exists? I don't know. There's so many like questions with the law.
I mean, even in real life, even in the up-to-date versions of like the movies and the books, wizardry is a secret, Deck. You dumb.
Is it entirely? Do people not know?
Muggles don't know.
They don't know at all.
Muggles literally have no clue. Yeah.
But the fat people do. The ones who look after Harry. Don't they? The
Dudleys?
I
don't know. Yeah, I think that. Okay, yeah, but maybe they're like sworn to secrecy. Maybe they're like sworn to like secrecy because their child is going to Hogwarts. I don't know all the laws, Deck, but all I know is for the majority of the part that Muggles do not know the wizardry exists, which is why they always try and like hide it and shit like that. Yeah. Jesus.
Okay, well, look, it wasn't personal. I just don't know. And of course, like the elephant in the room here is, of course, that this is a product of something created by J.K. Rowling, who's a very unpopular figure at the moment, and it's created
for a while.
Yeah, it's just been for a while, and it's created a bit of a debate. Well, it just came at a bad time because like she recently went on another like rant on Twitter, and the content of what she says is kind of irrelevant to the conversation that we're trying to have kind of about the game side, but it has created a bit of that conversation that often comes up when these sorts of things happen, of like the difficulty that some people have separating the art from the artist kind of thing. And like I had a point here, and my point is that I think for some people, things that are made, if you think about what we define as art, it's usually something that like moves you, or something that like it generates some level of emotion in some way, or it makes you think. And to some people, that art, no matter the size of the scale, kind of it like transcends the artist. And this is like kind of it's been a thing, like especially as we've like moved through like internet culture and cancel culture. A lot of people have have had this sort of difficulty and this kind of dissonance of like, well, I used to like this content creator, and now they've said this thing. It's like, oh, I don't know if I can watch their content anymore. And obviously, I'm not here to make that decision for you. That choice is yours. But like, this is one of
Yeah.
the things that I think is really interesting from like a literary perspective. Something that was spoke about by Robert Barthes, I think his name was. He was like a French, like literary philosopher, and he spoke about the idea of something called like death of the author. He wrote a book called Death of the Author, and it was essentially the idea that like the author's intent of what is put in their art is irrelevant. It's entirely based on like perception. So it's kind of a very complicated way to say like eye of the beholder kind of thing, and that except he's going to the extreme and saying all meaning is derived by the person. Like no, like it's really regardless of what the author meant. What you take away from it is what is really important, and how people and communities generate insight and share that insight. That's what's important, and that's what I'm kind of getting at here. Is that I think Harry Potter is something which has like, and a lot of things do, even small games, something like Outer Worlds for me transcends that kind of space. But like Harry Potter is something that I feel like it transcends that, and a lot of people watch that as they grew up, and it's part of their history and their like and their culture and their friendships. And so my view is that I think it's okay to like this while also disliking things that have been said by the author. And also, once we get down to the business side of things, obviously the development team are not the same people. Like them being impacted by the author of the books is a real shame. But like at the same time, we're not here to make that decision for you. But that's kind of my lens on these things. It's like death of the author. It really is like you take insight away from this stuff, you take meaning, and it's yours to own. Like I don't think you can. There's no need to map that onto the author. I don't think as much as she probably does deserve credit for making the world. I am able to make that disconnect.
Yeah, no, yeah, I kind of agree. Yeah, I think you said it in a really in a very fantastic way. But yeah, I just think it just comes down to if you love something enough, you should be able to look past any difficulties or anything that's happened with it or who it's created by or any controversies and stuff like that. Just enjoy the art that's been put out there. It's been put out there for you to consume. Just I don't know. But then it's the whole thing. It's just like, well, if you do consume it and you do this, and it's like it's benefiting the author that you hate or this controversy of this.
Yep.
But like I don't know. There's just like it's kind of I don't know. I can't explain it any better than you, but I agree. I agree with you. And no matter what J.K. Rowling would say or whatever, it wouldn't change my mind on how I view Harry Potter. Like
Exactly.
I love the books. I love the movies. And then if anyone asked me like, oh yeah, but J.K. Rowling is a bit of a bitch, I'd be like, yeah, she is a bit of a bitch, but like, I still like Harry Potter, man. Like,
oh yeah, man. Like exactly. You could drag out like you could like if it's something, even if we think like historically we do this, like Tolkien with Lord of the Rings. Tolkien was like not such a great guy. Like I know it's like it was the times, but like he was historically very racist, very sexist, like very like nationalist. As with someone like Lovecraft, horrible guy, like H.P. Lovecraft. But since his like stuff has like gained this this new wave of like love, and like that's okay because like the joy you take from it is yours. As much as you can credit them for like the creation of that universe, other people are going to read that and be like, that's not for me. This is a load of shit. But the joy you take from that is yours, and so you can kind of own that. And of course, like I guess as a disclaimer, like I understand that this is too like we're two white boys and this is our perspective. Like someone else who like JK's comments are maybe more directly impacting, of course, are going to feel differently. And like if you feel like you really can't support that, then like more power to you. Because maybe if it was something which was more targeted towards us, we'd be feeling a bit differently about it. But that's just where
exactly. It doesn't cross a line for us particularly. Well, it does, but not in a sense that it's an absolute personal attack or a personal assault on us. But obviously, everyone's different. It might be for you. Obviously, we're not telling you how to feel about things. It's just our perspective looking in. So,
absolutely. So that's that. That's the whole thing that's happened with Hogwarts. TLDR is game that's pretty good. Game that's pretty good.
JK's a bitch.
JK is a JK. She is a joke. Okay, so next bit of controversy. Moving on is it's around Gran Turismo 7, and yeah, again, like I don't want to linger on this too long because we kind of spoke about this a few weeks ago, if you remember, in our last show. It was around the thing that they did where they released the game, got good reviews, it's still on like 87, and then they dropped microtransactions, egregious microtransactions at that. Since then, there was an update which added more expensive microtransactions, and the servers went offline for over a day, like in its launch window, so the first 2 or 3 weeks, making the game unplayable, even though it's like a single player racing. I'm sure there's multiplayer in it, but like none of it could be played. And it's not like this is the only game to have ever done that. I'm sure. Like I can't remember if Halo had this problem. I don't think it did because they were separated into campaign and multiplayer. But nonetheless, the point being that this sort of stuff, all of this stuff is horrible. Or like every single thing I just said, really not ideal.
Yeah.
So that
absolutely.
It's been review bombed since. So like the user score on MeTaCrItIc has come down to like 2.4. So people aren't happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, who even looks at user score? Let's be honest. Like,
I don't know.
If you really want to make an impact, people should just do second reviews. But it's like, what warrants a second review, right? It's this whole line we were talking about. Do you think people should go back and give it another review just based on some microtransactions that have come in? Like, would you expect IGN to go back and re-review it and just be like, oh, actually, yeah, this is the game, but then they also just dumped like £40 each transactions in that should have been part of the base game, clearly cut content. It's now 7 out of 10 in our eyes. Do you think that's legit?
I just feel like, because you can't expect reviewers to like check back on a game every 2 weeks and then everything's fixed now, so I'm going to pop the review score back. You just can't do it. But what I do feel like there should be is like just because of the way that these companies are essentially trying to work around like the way they're trying to cheese it. Like, essentially they're trying to cheese like the review score, the embargo, because they have total control over that. They're like, okay, you get the embargo, you're only allowed to talk about this, you're only allowed to talk about that. So they get to see they can essentially give reviewers exactly what they want them to see, get the scores, and then do whatever the fuck they want. So what I think they do need to do is consider like a grace period. That's not the right phrase. Maybe like a buffer zone where like for all games by default, we're going to look at your game as it launches, and then we're going to look at the game in 3 weeks' time or a month's time. Yeah, and we'll double dip, and then after that we're done. And like maybe
it's like a
that
probation period.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that will just mean that a game publishers will do the same thing but a month later. Maybe, but I think that's going to be I
that
think
will impact the sales.
Exactly, yeah. Like that will create problems. If your game scores start dipping down from like an 8.5 to a 6, a month after launch, that's going to be a problem.
It will make people be more honest. It'll make people be more honest and put in the right amount of content that should have been in the game right from the start, because they want those sales to fire right from day one rather than a month in. They just lose time on sales, right? So they'll just be less sneaky about it. They won't try and work the system. They'll be a little bit, hopefully it'll provide a bit more honesty with how games are released. But
exactly. It needs to be like a waiter, or a waitress sort of checking in after your meal, Give you 10 minutes.
Just don't do it when I take a mouthful.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, why do they always do that? I went to a restaurant the other day. They always do that. Like, literally, it's like they give me my plate, and I'm like, great, it's fine. And then the moment I'm like, first mouthful, I've had a bit of a chat. First mouthful, stick it in my mouth. How is everything? I'm like, oh, it's good. It's like, come on, man.
I've only just tasted it.
It's like they time it, man. It happens all the time. Anyway,
yeah, you're always going to catch someone with it. Have you ever done that where you've like gotten it? Like usually you're fine, and like somebody will ask, and you got a bit of food in your mouth. You managed to make your way through it, and we survive. But every now and again, you'll like be like very acutely aware that like someone's about to ask you, like the waiter like looks you in the eyes, like,
Yeah.
and you're like waiting, like anxiously waiting, like I can't start yet. I've done that
Yeah.
before.
Mate, we all have waiter anxiety. It's fine.
It's hard. It's hard. Okay, let's move on. Next up, Tunic. Tunic got a cute little shadow drop into Games Pass. We knew it was coming out this week. We didn't know it was coming to Games Pass. In fact, the devs like explicitly said this game is not coming to Games Pass like 6 months ago or a year ago, or whatever. And there was an idea Xbox Twitch event, one of those really long-winded ones this week, which I didn't watch because I learned my lesson last time. But they announced that Tunic was going to be dropping there and then into Games Pass, which was obviously awesome because this game's been. We've heard about this game for like 6 years, it feels like.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's done really well. Eurogamer gave it an essential, IGN a 9, Easy Allies an 8, Metro Gamer an 8, Game Informer 9.8, Destructoid 9. Lots of high scores here, averaging out to an 85 on OpenCritic. Are you interested in trying Tunic?
Yeah, man. I think it looks like a cute little fucking game.
Really
I definitely think I will play it at some point. Is it really hard? Is it?
Apparently,
Right,
yeah.
Maybe
It is like kind of Souls-like.
Oh god, of course it is. But yeah, man, it kind of looks really fucking cool. And it's like a cute little but tough like spin-off on Zelda, like the Zelda formula. And I like it. Yeah, I think I'll give it a go at some point.
I've got to say,
it looks good.
Yeah. I think the gameplay does look quite fun. I've got to say, the art style isn't actually doing as much for me as I thought it would. I don't really know how to describe it. It's like kind of blocky. I don't know. I see it, and my brain is like, this is cool, but I'm not sure about it. Like, I don't know. For some reason, it's not just like it's just not doing that much for me. But I can see that there is a style there. You know,
I think it looks quite cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I've downloaded it the other day, so I intend to give it a go whenever I get off Elden Ring. So probably July.
Yeah, and kudos for the scores. Good game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
nice.
So another solo dev venture. They outsource like the music,
really?
but just one guy. Yeah.
Damn.
And I guess what it is because I'm looking at it and I'm like, I played Death's Door like maybe 6 months ago, and Death's Door was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll probably give it a go, but that's good though. I think it's good that Xbox has this in like right now, and it's like gap of news between everything, whether it's like no news about like Redfall, no conferences or updates, like no Halo updates. It's good that they managed to get this because it's created a bit of positive buzz. As it's exclusive at the moment, Xbox and PC. So yeah,
cool.
While we're on the topic of Games Pass, there were some new additions coming out this month. It's worth having a look into. We've got, just to name a few, Shredders, Norco, Crusader Kings 3, which is a PC game getting ported over, really highly reviewed. F1 2021, and what's that? Grail? I can't read that.
Grail. Something Grail.
And I did actually, I downloaded Shredders. It's like a snowboarding game.
Yeah?
I haven't tried it, but I don't know. I saw like on a sizzle reel, like on an advert, I saw it and I was like, kind of looks like SSX. Someone download it. Looks kind of fun. Yeah. I haven't played a game like that in ages.
Could be good fun.
And then obviously Tunic got shadow dropped. That's why that's not in that collection of games. But out of all of them, I'm looking forward to trying Weird West because it's from Rafael Colantonio, who was the previous founder of Arcane and the creative director for the whole Dishonored series. And he left, I think, like a couple of years back to make this game. And it's like a top-down, it's like a twin-stick shooter game, but it has like elements of like immersive siminess and RPG layers there. It's definitely like lower budget, but like it looks quite good. So I'm kind of interested. I've got it earmarked to see how it does. I've actually got it on my fancy critic. I totally forgot that I did. presumably because of the
Oh,
pedigree
okay.
of the team. But I was like, this is probably going to be good, and it's Devolver Digital, and so
They do good stuff. Yeah.
guaranteed banger.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Nice. Good little Games Pass lineup. Not quite
Yeah,
as
yeah,
good as last month, but pretty good.
yeah, absolutely. I think some people would argue it's better simply because of Crusade Kings, which is like a say like a 90+ game. But yeah, that's obviously it's like less our style. But Guardians of the Galaxy last month remains a really good addition. So let's sort of get into the main news then. Now, you're probably surprised we're not there yet at an hour in, but don't you worry.
Yeah.
We're rolling now. So there was like a little bit of Redfall gameplay that like leaked last week by like a random like Spanish podcasting channel. I don't know how they got their hand. Presumably they were part of the alpha or somebody. No, I do know actually. Somebody sent them this gameplay. And so I've just taken like a screen cap here in the notes. And originally everybody thought it was new, but it turns out it was from the same leak that we had earlier in the year. Do you remember we spoke about it on the podcast?
Oh, it showed like the inventory and stuff like that.
That's right, which was
Yeah.
back in September. Now I've got it on the notes actually. So this is an older build, but nonetheless, like the screenshot I've got is obviously it's a screen grab from like a phone, so it's not the super highest quality. But like the lighting looks quite nice. Some of the textures look like a little bit flat, but it's and like from what I watched, it looked pretty nice. Not much happened. It was like 15 seconds of like shooting a vampire, like one vampire in like the corner of this like kind of suburb. Not much happened, but it looked very good. The gun was responsive. It recoiled. The vampire looked nice, and he went in and stabbed it at the end with a stake. And it was choppy, and the quality just wasn't good. But that game's got to be like on the cusp of being shown off, like having some actual gameplay shown off.
Oh yeah.
Because
If it's coming out sort of like fall this year, we'd expect some gameplay pretty soon, I think.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people are kind of speculating, and people are saying this about Redfall and Starfield, that because neither of them are being shown, like they're going to be delayed. And I think Redfall already. Have I made that up? Oh my God, Redfall already got delayed. I think, if I remember, it was meant to be.
I don't think so.
No, did I make that up? I might have made that up.
I don't think Redfall's received a delay yet.
Yeah, maybe you're right. So there's a lot of people that are like quite anxious because Xbox so far, have been quiet for like 6 months now. And nothing's been said about these two games as is meant to be like the big pillars of the year, apart from maybe an unannounced Forza. That they're going to get delayed, so we'll have to wait and see. But like, I think the gameplay here, which is already like 6 months old, is like looking quite good. So another 6 months. Well, yeah, another 6 months will make it like end of summer. So, which is what they said. They said summer 22. So we'll have to wait and see. I've got a lot of fingers crossed for this game. I'm really interested to see how Arcane make immersive sim work with co-op, because in my head those things just don't work very well. But they don't make bad games, and I think there's like really big potential. I just don't feel like I've had those two elements mixed before in a game, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think it'll be good, and it will solidify this in our heads if we just see some gameplay and understand a little bit more about it. But yeah, I have high hopes for it. On paper, I think it sounds so cool, and I really want it to be good. So yeah, fingers crossed, definitely.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think everybody is sold on the concept of Redfall, like vampires, like hero shooter kind of style, open world, immersive simmy. Everybody's sold on that in concept, but it's like, how is it going to come together? I need to like understand how that works. So yeah, gameplay is going to go a long way, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. I just briefly wanted to touch on this because there's nothing immense, but I feel like we're touching on Fallout 76 every podcast at the moment. It's just, I think they're just in that kind of news cycle where the game is starting to generate a bit of traction. And yeah, like 2 weeks ago during the podcast, we showed you their 2022 roadmap, or we spoke about that, sorry. But they said Mark Tucker in an interview with OzGamer, said that they have like a 5-year broad like roadmap for Fallout 76. So for any of the doubters that think that this game is like on the verge of being like abandoned, it's not going to be as much as some of you may want that. It seems that they are going to be sticking to their guns here, and they do feel like they have something which could become quite successful. Not that it isn't already. I don't know, but it's ticking along.
I mean, 5 years of content on top of however long it's already been out. That's crazy. Like that's they've got some big plans for this game, and they want to keep it going. Yeah, 100%. They're definitely running a marathon.
It's a big commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, not a sprint. But yeah, because I don't know when this game came out. I want to say like,
God, yeah, I don't know.
20. Was it as long ago as like 2018? I don't know.
I think that sounds right. I would have said like 2018, 2019. Yeah, 2018.
2018.
November.
Yeah, so it's already been out for like almost 4 years, and they got 5 more years of content planned for it. That's pretty crazy.
MeTaCrItIc of 53. Oof.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Oof.
It is kind of brutal. And again, with the review process, these are the sort of things where I kind of wish reviewers went back again, because I don't think that game is not a 53 right now. Like that game is a solid 70. Like it's good now. There's so much content in it. There's so much stuff to do. They fixed so many things wrong with their launch. But anyone just like giving it a quick Google, or like they want to pick it up for like a 10 or something, they look at that score and they're going to just instantly not do it. And I think that's quite harsh, considering, the commitment they've done to turning it around. When they could have just called it. They could have just called it quits, like Anthem or something like that, but they didn't. So
yeah, I agree.
You have to give some respect.
Especially because it's like that's the thing that will pop up in the algorithm. Like you said you type in the game, it'll pop up those initial scores. IGN 5, Eurogamer 5, MeTaCrItIc 53. And like people do re-reviews, like there have been re-reviews, but they're not the first thing that pops up unless somebody types in, like Fallout 76 2020 re-review. And like, so yeah, I'm totally with you. But there are some purists out there who like are really like, well, that's the game's fault. You only have one chance to make a good impression. And it's like, well, like yes, like you're right, but like first impressions aren't always how games work, is it? Like, it depends on the game. Yeah. Like sometimes first impression isn't the most important thing. Well, hey, look at Fortnite. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like,
especially when Fallout 76 was a games of service right from the get-go. It was never going to be the one and done product, was it? So it's like, it's a bit harsh just to stamp it as a fucking F and just leave it like that for the rest of its life cycle. Like, yeah, come on. Like, I think it's a bit harsh.
And that's not to say that it's excusable to release games in the state that 76 was in. It was very buggy. It was very barren. It was, I think it did have some design elements which just weren't thought through fully. We're not trying to excuse that at all. It's more that some games get this branding, and as much as they generate communities and can pick up pace, that score doesn't change, and that can sometimes be a barrier to newcomers and stuff, or even returning players. So it's just that can be a real shame, which I think could be alleviated by just giving the game another honest crack and giving us another honest review. If you don't feel like it's improved, then it hasn't improved. But if it has, then I think we should try and give that credit.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't agree more.
Lovely. Okay. There's a white Elite controller coming. Apparently, this was like a real
Seriously?
flash. Yeah, flash in the pan. Flash in the pan.
I just bought one.
Yeah,
I would have gone. I always get the like stuff like this in white if I have the option. I think that sort of white color looks really nice on phones and controllers and all that sort of stuff. Oh, I'm really annoyed actually.
Well, don't worry.
It hasn't got like a release date, has it? Yeah,
it hasn't been officially announced yet. This is like a quote unquote leak. It's like a picture of it on a shop shelf somewhere on like a factory or whatever. But I gotta say, the picture that we got there does look pretty sleek.
I actually don't like the two-tone. I actually would have liked if they just made the rubber grips white as well.
No, I like the two-tone, man.
We don't see eye to eye all the time.
You might even say it's black or white. All right, let's move on.
Nice.
Okay, so this one was spicy. MeTaCrItIc does these yearly reports, and actually, I think really near the beginning of when we started this podcast, we did the one for last year. MeTaCrItIc do these yearly reports of like what publishers were the best for what years. You know, they take the aggregate of all the games that released under that studio, under their Xbox Game Studios, PlayStation Studios, Nintendo, Bethesda, yada yada, Activision, and they look at what the average review scores for that were for that publisher.
Yeah.
And in 2021, Microsoft was the highest rated publisher. Not only that, it was the highest rated publisher in history. It was the highest rated a publisher has ever achieved in a single year, with like an average of, I think, what was it, 87.4, which is nuts.
That is.
There were arguably less games in that cycle than there were typically, but I think that was the same for a lot of publishers because COVID. But, you know, if it wasn't obvious already, because Forza Horizon, because Psychonauts, because Flight Simulator, because Halo Infinite, and Deathloop would have counted as well. You know, all of those games scored incredibly highly. And that gave it the score that it did, which got some people real pissed off. Some, MeTaCrItIc, like, worshippers who, like, live and breathe the little green square. So, that's fun.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good year, man. Like, and I think it just goes to show.
Yeah,
it's going to trigger some people, sure, but whatever. It's one of those things.
That's just how it goes.
The scores don't lie. Like, it is what it is. It's an aggregate of all the other reviewers. It was a good year for sure.
Yeah, it's just crazy that we've gone from like Xbox has no games to Xbox is going to have a monopoly to Xbox has no games. It's like it's gone back to like this now that we're in early the dry spell of the year. It's like what's going on here? Like some of these narratives are just ridiculous, and it's
it's like people just expect like a constant flow of like content. It's just like, well, guys, there is there are moments they need to make the games too. Like they don't just like come out like chill.
Yeah, they are humans, and of course, we've heard over and over again that is what the team at Xbox want to do. They want to have these kind of quarterly releases, but when that's quite ambitious, I would say. And we're obviously not there yet, but there are bumps in the road, and it's just console warriors, man. It's just pointless giving it any attention, really. But yeah, beside that, so Xbox Game Studios was first with 87.4. Sony was second with 81.3. And then we had Humble Games, Activision Blizzard, Bethesda, Capcom. Nintendo wasn't even on the list, which really kind of surprises me.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
Because one of the major things that dragged Sony down was, what was it called? That car, god damn it, what was it called? That car game that they released at launch, where you like All-Star, Destruction All-Stars.
Are we talking about Sony here?
Yeah. That was by
okay.
That was published by PlayStation Studios. But you like drove into each other. It was like Death Arena with cars. Anyway, that didn't review very well, and that kind of pulled it down. So I'm interested to see how fucked Xbox is this year because they published Crossfire.
Oh god, yeah, that's true actually.
So I don't know if they've managed to like wiggle themselves out of being the publisher, because there was some weirdness with like who was publishing it, if it was Xbox or Smilegate. So I'm interested. Like, and obviously Xbox wouldn't do that for this reason, but like we'll have to see how it all pans out, because if that is going to be under Xbox, they don't stand a chance like this year. Even if Starfield is a 103 out of 100, it's just not happening.
Yeah. Fucking Crossfire.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So next up, this ties in with something that happened very, very recently this week. So supposedly there's been a new Xbox code name spotted under the name of Xbox Keystone, and this is coming under the code names for Xbox Durango, Xbox Scarlet. If you remember, Scarlet was the Series X. Durango, I can't actually remember what Durango was. Durango just the Xbox One?
Yeah, it says right there.
Does it?
It says right there in your tweet.
It says right there. I knew that anyway. So presumably, I mean, sometimes it's not that simple of what code names are and aren't, but it seems like there might be some hardware there, and the reason why I say this is kind of like a little bit corroborated is because it's at the very bottom of the notes if you want to have a look. But on the Xbox Era podcast just yesterday, from time of filming, the team over there said that they had heard that there is some Xbox hardware to show, but it falls into a different bucket than what people are expecting, and it might be something that's shown off this year. So I'm just interested to hear, like, if there is hardware happening, and it's like, what do you think that is?
It could be a new Elite, maybe new Elite Series 3.
So you think it might be like a peripheral? Oh, that's interesting.
It could be like a controller, yeah, or it could be like an SSD or something. But
do you know what? You're a genius. I didn't even thought about that. I was just thinking about like console stuff and streaming stuff. Yeah, it could be. It totally could be like a new external SSD. It could be like a new controller. It could be like a different periphery. Like, I don't know if they're interested in doing like VR.
The Kinect coming back.
Or the Kinect 3.0. Let's just go. Let's just do it.
Yeah, let me squeeze my screen.
Answer our wishes and let us squeeze our screen. That's all I want to do. Let me check the gum under my foot. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
so, I mean, I'm interested to think what you thought it could have been then, if you're so blown away from what I said.
Well, yeah, I just thought this is why it's useful, like, having you who doesn't follow this as like closely as I do, because I get like tunnel visioned on stuff sometimes.
Yeah,
I assume this is like the streaming stick that we've spoken about before on the podcast, and like supposedly, there's been like a streaming stick, plug it into your TV. Oh, you can access cloud streaming to Games Pass for just £6 a month, and the kind of keystone phrasing kind of like makes it sound a bit like pop it in.
Yeah.
However, the fact that they said over on Xbox Era that it was like it falls into a different bucket than what we'd be expecting makes me think it's not that, because there's been a lot of general talk about the idea of a cloud streaming stick for a while. I would almost say that that's expected, So,
okay.
What was a portable?
Yo. What, something to compete with the Stream Deck?
Yeah, maybe.
Steam Deck? I said Stream Deck.
You did say Stream Deck.
Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it could be something. Yeah, potentially. I mean, really, it could be anything. But for whatever reason, It's already been a fridge deck. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Now we're cooking.
I think it's the one house appliance that they've already done.
Kettle. It's going to be an Xbox kettle.
That'd be great.
That's just how that works. I don't know. For some reason, my mind just instantly went to like their own branded like SSD or something like that. But I don't know. Yeah, or like a new Elite series. Like I said, I can't remember when the Elite 2 came out, but there's been so many issues with that, and I think Elite Series 3 was talked about a while ago. So
yeah, maybe it is just we're getting to that time where they have been like R&Ding like a new controller. Like, I don't know. So I don't know how they're going to do that. Like, I think that is kind of the downside to this compatibility approach that they've taken. As good as it is, and I think it is the right decision. If they do decide to innovate on the controller side, it's like, how does that work? Like, I don't know what features they'd want to add to it, but like, do you have to go out your way and like, presumably it's like an additional add-on, right? And then it's like a developer's really gonna developers already neglect like the Dual Sense, which has all these great features, and all PS5 owners have one. let alone
Yeah.
people who have to go out and buy this new fancy, and like, what are they going to put on this controller that makes it worth it for the price to go out and to
Yeah.
be like, whoa, this is totally going to like change my experience, so
Agreed.
like maybe they're looking to like, if that time ever does come, and I'm speaking purely hypothetically, but like if that time ever does come, maybe they are waiting for like them to get into this cadence of first party games where they can, essentially go to each place and be like, we need you to make this, the implementation of this, fucking sick. And because it's
Yeah.
likely to be compatible across all devices, people can use it on their Series S, on their Series X, on their S, on their base Xbox One, on their One X, on their One. They can use it on all of them. So that's the only upside, I guess, is that if people did go out and buy it, they have a bigger pool of people, if that makes sense. But I still feel like your casual Xbox One owner who's not going to be upgrading to a current gen console for a while is not likely to go out and buy that controller. But maybe,
Yeah.
I mean, if they can take it forward with them, like, and maybe it gets bundled in the new consoles from now on. Like, here's the Fable edition with fucking glow in the dark triggers, and it like wraps around your finger and tugs on it a little bit. When you
Oh my god, Deck. You're going down a rabbit hole now.
You become the controller. Yeah.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, that sort of stuff is it's a slow burn. That sort of stuff. It's so hard to migrate people over and make that worth the hardware cost, and like you said, the development cost as well, to include it and stuff like that, because these developers are under so much crunch time just to get games out. Period. Let alone, like you said, developing for something like that and making time for that, to the point where it's not gimmicky as well, to the point where it's actually something that's will affect the game and the experience. I think that's a very slow process, and something, like you said, they might if they're going to do it, they might I think they might just leave it for the generation and include it with the next generation, like PS5 did with their controller, or they're just going to start phasing it in to new bundles and new editions of an Xbox Series X that come out. Maybe they're going to release a Series X that has like a more internal storage SSD, like it's a 2 terabyte, and it comes with this new controller or something like that. They'll just start phasing it in, but it's a slow process, and probably something that's, when you think about it, probably actually worth not doing for this generation. If you were to ask me, I'd say it's not worth it for this generation. I'd say just leave it a gap. The controller's already great. Make a great Series 3 that doesn't break in 6 months. And I think just leave it for the generation. If it's a controller, at least.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to sort of speculate about, simply because of the way that Xbox has kind of decoupled, the hardware from, well, the controllers, I suppose, from the consoles. Yeah, because I just don't know what is kind of the right move with that. Because like, the other side of it is that it keeps costs down. Presumably, I know that they've done a new controller with the share button and the grips, and they feel great. Like the Series X and S ones, they do feel good. But there's no like big innovation there, I think, that people were excited for in the same way that the DualSense was. But at the same time, it keeps the price a bit lower. So, is that worth the trade-off of like creating a new decoupled controller that people have to then buy? It creates that kind of and ah. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm quite surprised to hear it. I don't think this is like a mid-gen console refresh. I don't think we'll get that again.
No.
Especially with the the conductor shortage and everything. It's just like, it's not happening, is it?
No. Yeah, it's not going to be that.
So yeah, we'll wait and see. Hopefully we hear some more soon. I mean, it adds more to that pile of like speculation of like, what could Xbox show off in there? Their replacement E3 conference, and will it be 6 hours long? Because like, you better show me a lot, because I've been waiting a while.
Yeah.
All right, great. On the software side, there was a little update was pushed out to the consoles that allows you to updates to work on energy saver mode, which I've been meaning to do. Actually, I've forgotten to do that, but yeah, because typically that was the trade-off. If you put energy saver on, it wouldn't update, but now you can, which is really good, because over here in the UK, energy bills are like quintupling at the moment. I got a bill of over $1,000 last month.
That's crazy.
What the fuck's that?
That's mental, dude.
And they're like, yeah, you just need to pay us like £300 a month now. And I'm like, I live in a 2-bedroom house. Like, what are you talking about? Like, get off me.
That's crazy. Fucking hell.
So yeah, I definitely need to do this. This will make, maybe it's just this. Maybe it's just my Series X. Like, trying to
like,
download.
You're down to now you're down to £5 a month after you turn this on. You're like, yeah. Jesus.
Yeah.
How much energy was this consuming?
Yeah, it could power of like a fucking jet.
Yeah. That's
so
crazy.
yeah, nifty little feature. There's a couple of new features I'm waiting for on the software, on like the UI side as well. Like that quick resume pinning thing that we spoke about a few weeks back. Like you can pin 2 games. That hasn't come through to public yet. And there's been like a recent thing while we're on the topic about like sharing to Twitter, like directly to Twitter, has been like removed from the console, which has like left people a bit pissed off. And you have to, and now they've implemented a new feature where it like pings it to your phone through the app, and then you go to your phone, and from there you can share it. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, it creates another step." A lot of people are like, "Well, I don't mind because sending it to my phone allows me to like, do whatever I need to do there, and it's not a big deal to me." But yeah, allegedly, I think Jez said on the Xbox 2 podcast, they're like trying. There's like maybe a UI. No, not UI, like a sharing system update coming like halfway through the year. With like editing features and like, do you remember when Xbox One came out? And that was like mind blowing. You could go to it and it would like put all these like razzle dazzle effects. It'd be like you could do like a top 10 countdown, and that's like a Sunset Overdrive like splash, or like and like it's still that. But if you look, it's still that unchanged. Like the studio, it's like buried in the UI now. It's really hard to find.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to have like to just go on it and have like a really easy trim feature, or like a really easy just anything really that you could just like pop in. And this is like what we've spoken about before with like having a better community integration. Because like if I could just see stuff my friends have shared, it would really incentivize me to be like, take a clip and like trim it down and maybe do something funny, and then like have a text over the top with an animation, pop it in, did that in 2 minutes, done.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There'd be so many clips that I have in my library right now that I'd love to do that with. 100%. Yeah, that would be a really cool addition.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how it goes. But I do feel like the software side of things has really slowed down since the start of this gen. I am interested in seeing like a UI kind of update. Don't think we need an overhaul because I think it's quite good overall, but I think there's some stuff that does need some work in there. Particularly around like sharing social and achievements as well. I think does need some work. So fingers crossed. Okay.
Yeah.
More updates on the Steam Deck. Microsoft provided an update on Xbox Game Studios, Xbox Game Studio titles for the Steam Deck. This is coming from The Verge. Most of those games are playable, but there are some that won't be supported on Steam Deck due to anti-cheat. And those games so far are Gears 5, Halo MCC, Halo Infinite, and Flight Simulator. Flight Sim's a bit of an outlier there, but
Flight Sim for anti-cheat. What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't actually know why that is.
That's weird. Who cheats in Flight Sim? I don't. What do you gain out
I flew from Bangkok to London in 3 minutes flat. You won't believe it.
They're like, it's not possible. It's not realistic. Shut him down. Block the IP address.
But yeah, this is cool. And I think like the part of my like reluctance to think that Xbox are interested in doing a portable is the fact that they're so eager and willing to get their shit on other like on the Steam Deck or on cloud. That's their kind of. I'm interested to know like how Xbox are thinking about streaming versus native. Like, do they feel that? Like, will that capture the same audience? Like, as I personally, like, it's not like I'm not booting up something like Elden Ring to stream. It's it requires. There are some games where it works really well, and particularly touch, like games that give me like touch on the phone, touch controls. So some of them you boot up and you're like, wow, this is so convenient. But other ones, it's like, got to get your phone, got to boot up the app, got to get your Bluetooth connection, got to pop that on. Oh, got to pop your headphones. And it's taking you like 15 minutes by the time you're actually ready to play, and then you do it, and it's like a bit laggy.
Still not 100%.
Yeah, and it's like it's good in a pinch. Like it's convenience playing, and that's not the same as like leisure or like luxury playing. I would say. So I don't know.
Yeah.
If that same demographic would the same demographic who does play on their cloud sometimes, would they be interested in buying something where they can play these games natively, or would they think, no, that's the cloud is enough for me? I guess I'm interested to see what Xbox, like their data kind of shows on that, because that must influence this sort of decision making.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to say. I don't really feel like there's any just cloud only gamers out there, but for Xbox, that'd be kind of weird.
No, but I guess I mean more on like the portable side of things,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it would be kind of interesting to find out the data. But like you said, we seem very keen on doing it. They seem very keen on just making it accessible everywhere, right? In the most convenient way possible, and I really think you can't go wrong with that. Whether it gets utilized a lot or not, it's just providing convenience where others don't, like PlayStation and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say.
I mean, we've always said. We've always said that, like, I think, like, since the announcement of the Steam Deck, like, this is a good opportunity for Xbox and like Gabe and Valve like seem to be really excited about the idea of getting Games Pass on it. Like, this is a good opportunity for them to be like trial Games Pass on this natively. Someone can go to Steam, download it through Games Pass, and see like what the engagement is like. Do people like to play these games portably? And I'm sure the answer is yes. And then that begs the question to Xbox: do we need to make something, or are we making enough money through these sales, like on the work, on other people's consoles, essentially?
Yeah.
I'd like one of them eventually.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, once I can. I don't know. I mean, I could probably I can afford it right now for sure, but yeah, I don't know. Nothing. It's not really. I don't want to go out and grab it right now, but eventually, I think it's a great investment.
No.
I'm just worried what's going to happen to my Switch. My poor Switch.
You'll get jealous.
Kill me in the night.
Yeah, probably. We'll use you as an amiibo. I'll come round to your house one day and there'll be a Tim amiibo lying on the bed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. That's fine. So next up is some news about Overwatch. We had this like brief discussion like the other week, me and you, about this, because this kind of came out of nowhere, and there's obviously been a lot of like kind of unrest in like the Overwatch community. And they had like a big update. There's a beta planned in late April, so 1 month from now, really. And they had like a big chat where they spoke about they apologized for like kind of being radio silent. But the big things to take away here essentially is that when the beta signups went live, the website kept crashing, despite everybody saying for ages that Overwatch is dead. This is why you should never listen to people saying things are dead, because 9 times out of 10, they are not, in fact, dead.
It's not dead.
And the second important thing is to note that the PvP and the PvE side of Overwatch 2 have been kind of decoupled, and they're going to be released separately. And supposedly this is what has led to a lot of the silence from around Overwatch 2. Because the PvE side of things has had like a lot of reworks and a lot of tinkering that kind of needs sorting, but the PvP is coming on quite nicely. So yeah, what do you think? If you scroll down to the next page as well, I've got some of the screen grabs from their Twitter and everything. I think they've included like a new hero, some of the new reworks for some of the characters: Orisa, Doomfist, Bastion, and Sombra, a new ping system, a new game mode, 4 new maps. What do you think about this whole Overwatch 2 thing? Is this raising your eyebrow, or are you not really caring?
No, I'm quite interested in it, to be honest. I mean, we were really big fans of the first Overwatch. I thought it was a bit weird when Overwatch 2 was released. I felt like it
Released.
was a bit announced. I felt like it was a bit unnecessary. And I was just like, I feel like they're just kind of trying to wipe the slate clean a little bit because their product's now gone a bit stale, sort of thing. That was kind of the impression I got, and they were just like, let's just give it a facelift and put a 2 in front of it. But I don't know. The more I look on it, I miss Overwatch, and I'm actually really looking forward to it. And I think I'm going to sign up for the beta. I definitely like to play it. Is the sign up still going on?
I think
Like,
it
could
is,
I
but
go to that website and sign up?
it is, but I think it's PC only. I'm afraid to tell you.
Oh, is it PC only? Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine. That's fine. I guess I'll just buy a PC rig.
yeah,
Um,
that seems like a reasonable solution. Yeah.
yeah. But no, man, I'm mildly hyped for it. No, I'm not. I'm not counting down the days. I'm not like crazy excited for it, but like, it's there. I'm aware of it, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think it could be pretty cool.
So
And by the sounds of it, assuming these reworks on existing characters and the rosters, which by the way, the roster for Overwatch is already pretty fantastic. And if these reworks really are good and they make them feel like new characters and new heroes being added. Again, it's so hard to say like how many new heroes are coming in Overwatch 2, or is it literally just going to be like one and then the original roster with some updates sort of thing? We don't know that yet. They could be more than that. So based on the information that's going to come later, I think I'll be more hyped for it. I feel like if they were just to be like, Overwatch 2 is coming out in November and it's got one new hero, 4 new maps, and some reworks, I'd be like, that's a little bit underwhelming. But if I had a handful of new heroes, decent reworks, and stuff like that, I'm pretty interested in it. I'm quite excited.
So you're quite like confident that by the time the
I
game
need more
comes out,
information.
right? So, but you're like for the most part, you're thinking like you'd want to play Overwatch 2.
Yeah,
You'd want to buy Overwatch 2
definitely.
when it comes out. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think so. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
largely in the same camp because I think the thing is, and I guess this is the thing because it's been a while since they've done their last like hero. I can't even remember who the last hero was for Overwatch 2. I know they released that big old boy who like floats and he's got like big fondles and balls. And he's like an evil boy. Don't know what I'm talking
huh?
about? Yeah,
Oh, I think I do. Yeah,
I don't know his name. Um, I feel like he was the last one, but maybe I'm wrong. Um, and that was a while back. That was like 2 years ago, like at least 2 years ago.
yeah,
I feel
yeah.
so like the fact that, and we've heard about Overwatch 2 for like years and years and years now. Like you say, there must be quite a lot in the pipeline here, and like I think the new game mode is good because like one of the criticisms I think everybody always had of Overwatch is that the game like there was one game mode. I always actually quite liked that game mode, the mix of like the push and capture. I thought there were some
Yeah.
capture points, there were some maps that needed tweaking because there were like real choke points that were difficult. But I loved that tension that you got to those points and you
Yeah.
like had to push for every inch.
Hmm.
I thought those were good game modes. I'm surprised that other
I
games
don't
haven't
think
picked up
I.
on, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't feel like the game mode ever got stale for me in Overwatch, at all. To be honest.
Not that Overwatch invented these modes. I'm pretty sure. I feel like Team Fortress 2 maybe had something like this. I really don't know, but I know that Overwatch didn't create this sort of like push mode.
Yeah, payload.
Payload, sorry, yeah. Yeah, and the in terms of sort of the reworks, I'm not expecting big changes with the reworks, and like I wouldn't go into this thinking that we're going to see like entirely new characters. I would expect a small change here and there for a few of them. Like I remember, I hopefully someone corrects me if I'm wrong here, but like when I was listening to the updates, one of them was talking about one of the updates for Orisa. You loved Orisa, right? And she had that
Mm-hmm.
sucky ball. She on left
Yeah,
trigger, I think, and she fired it off and
yeah.
pulled people in. They were saying like they were one of the updates for her is that she now has two of them. Like on cooldown, she has two. for like more control and like for reasons X, Y, and Z. But like I think that's the scale of rework that we're kind of looking at here. I'm sure I don't know how this is relative to other heroes, but it's not like you've got an entirely new kit. It's like moderate adjustments to the existing kit and maybe a replacement of a skill on some characters that have it. I think I remember people saying that Doomfist had something a bit larger, like maybe a passive of something. I can't remember what it was. So yeah, I think that's the scale of reworks we're kind of looking at. And like you said, it does depend on the amount of heroes. What we're looking at, like 1 or 2, or we're looking at like an extra 4 or 5. Ping system is good to hear. Good on Respawn for taking the industry in this direction.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I'm with you. I am dead interested in trying, like, seeing how it goes. It's just, I hope they have something to show for all this time that they've been so radio silent for.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot to ask for people these days, especially if you're coming out with a sequel, and you're basically just being like, there's going to be a few new heroes. You got the original roster with some changes, some new maps, and we might give you a single player campaign later down the line, separate, but give me 65 quid.
Yeah.
Like it's just like you kind of like,
Why
I don't know,
not just add it to the base game?
Overwatch 1 was a £50 game, but that came with we had 0 heroes, and we ended up getting 20 new heroes no one ever played before. This one is 65 quid. We got the same heroes plus 3 or like 2 or maybe even 1. It's just like the maths doesn't quite add up. So I don't know. And I'm not asking for 20 new heroes on launch. That's not what I'm asking. But like you gotta put some meat on the bones. And I'm just not sure if they're up to doing that.
It's just it's just hopefully they've thought through the value proposition already.
Hopefully they learned from Battlefield. I'm hoping they learned from Battlefield a little bit.
In what way?
In terms of just release your game properly, release your game with a decent. I guess Battlefield, it wasn't really a content issue. It wasn't really it was just a bit jank, wasn't it? And it was a bit not.
Yeah, there's like the design was questionable, like some of the designs.
Yeah, exactly.
No
so I guess maybe not. But I mean, in the sense of it was like a multiplayer only game. They were asking a hefty price tag from people, and then it just fell short. That sort of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I think that's it. I think that as long as they need to think about, people are just going to be asking, like, because what you're essentially doing is you're making an Overwatch 1 expansion. If you're keeping all the maps, you're keeping all the heroes, like, presumably we can carry our skins forward. Like, that's presumably part of the reason why they're taking this direction. Because if not, that's going to raise a lot of other, it's going to ring a lot of other alarm bells. They need to be thinking about, is this... People are just going to be asking, why could you not have just made this free updates to Overwatch 1 like you continue to do? And if the answer is, well, money, well, it's like, well, you need to think about more monetization, like, rather than like selling us the same game with a few extras. Because like they've said that there's going to be like an engine overhaul. I remember them saying that way back when they announced Overwatch 2, so like it looks a lot better. And Overwatch was always kind of timeless anyway, just because its style was so good. But yeah, that's the thing that they need to be thinking about. I think that's going to be the one thing that like really splits people, because clearly by the demand, it's clearly still very popular. It made such a huge splash. And the thing that I think is going to split people is if they're feeling like gypped, like why am I having to pay again for everything I already own in the original Overwatch?
Exactly.
That's the problem. So yeah, I am tentatively excited. Maybe the Blizzard deal will be closed with Xbox by the time that rolls around, and we won't even have to worry about buying it. That would be pretty rad. Get it on Games Pass.
Games Pass.
Everything is Games Pass, so I'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Okay, supposedly we're looking at an E3 event in June. And you know what that means? We got to get some holiday booked, get the boys down, crack some brewskis, and drink every time they say...
Get some bingo going.
Get some bingo going, exactly.
Yeah,
That's how
man.
you do it.
It's
That's how you
always
have
a
a good
great time.
Yeah.
Always a great time.
And I say E3, but E3 style is what was reported, and this comes from Jeff Grubby Grub over at GameSpeak, saying that Microsoft is currently talking to publishers about a June event. But because there was some previous speculation that something was happening in May, but it seems it might be June now. And September is also a month that's come up, maybe a second sort of showing or a follow-up showing, because they have done that in the past where they've done like a 1-2 punch of showings, whether it's in 2020 they had the May showing and then E3. 2013, for better or worse, they showed the console and then they had the E3. And I think, did they do something similar last? No, but they have done that. That's like not off the cards, especially with so many things in the back, in the backlog, in the vault, so to speak. I can see them doing that. So yeah, I hope this is true. God damn it! Like I am desperate to hear about all of these games that Xbox have in the works, and we've been speaking about for like months and seen like nothing of, like code names and everything. Like I just want to see kind of what's cooking now, especially knowing that most of this is going to be coming to Games Pass. It's very easy for me to get excited about stuff that maybe I would kind of shrug at before, because it's like, oh, I can give it a go, can't I?
Yeah.
So yeah. But I suppose that's no real surprise. I guess because there was something I skimmed over there, and it does tie into this a little bit, and I'd like to hear what you think about this, because we have touched on it before, but they've put up a job listing recently, Xbox has, around hiring for a director of programming. By programming, I mean like programs and events, and this is the timing of this looks real sus, especially with a lot of the community talking about, well, Xbox needs to do more frequent showcases. So like, I'm interested to hear what you kind of think about the idea of someone coming in to create showcases, and also how that contrasts to PlayStation's recent state of play, which was shit. And it's because a lot of people were saying, like, don't have to show us something. Like, we didn't need this. Like, we really didn't need this. So, like, what do you think?
I mean, it just goes to show that maybe we were thinking along the right lines of how Xbox can proceed to move on and like potentially make their own, I guess, like state of play on Nintendo Directs, because we do lack that a little bit, don't we? And I think the sort of events that happened in the past, as we talked about, like the anniversary event and things like that, they hit pretty hard. They were actually pretty cool, and I think they actually got a lot of attention, and I think that has probably turned on a light bulb in their heads, and it's just like, yo, why don't we actually, instead of just smashing everything at E3, we can leave the big hitters for E3, but we can have some cool cut up events. And but obviously, like you said, you have to do it within reason, because it's good that they're hiring. I mean, Sony would have someone like this anyway. I'm sure they'd have a director of programs and stuff like that. So obviously these issues can still happen, as like you said, their last state of play was kind of trash and it probably didn't need to be done. But hopefully it's the sort of thing where, yeah, we are looking at it and we have like a team dedicated to it and a person dedicated to it, to actually planning these things out, what's going to be shown when and how, and sort of keeping people interested throughout the year, rather than these big blocks of silence that we sit in for a long time and then everything, and then massive block of silence, and then everything again. So I'm hoping at least that's what he or she is coming on board to do, is to just create this sort of schedule, this sort of roadmap, this sort of like and just giving it to us a bit more face value. I think that'd be pretty cool. I think
definitely.
we need our own little thing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Xbox does need that thing that's like, it has its like brand recognition show that everybody can get excited for. Because as much as I've like ragged on State of Play today, I like how they handle it. They like drop it. They're like, State of Play happening in 4 days. Tune in, and it's just like, okay, cool. And like everybody gets excited.
Yeah.
And then the way that they handle it, they're like, and here's this show and here's this game, and they go through it really well. The format and like the presentation of all of it is like really good. Same with Nintendo Direct, and it's never something that Xbox has been able to get their heads around. Like, they have had inside Xboxes before, but they were always like bad to fine. Like I think the most we ever got out of one was the announcement of Everwild, which was cool, but since it feels like maybe that shouldn't have been announced so early because Everwild is now getting a bit of a rework.
Yeah.
And so it's like, was that really like worth doing in the end? So maybe I kind of feel like they need to like rebrand because Inside Xbox has a bit of a bad connotation. Like it's people don't think of it as something which is positive, but maybe they would if they did start showing some good stuff, and maybe but just create a different name for that show, and have one. And I don't know if they want. I think Phil has expressed his desire to like keep E3 season going whenever that does return. Not this year. So maybe they just need like an E3 show and an Xbox show. And sort of have that roadmap and a name that people can attach to. Because they use language like Xbox and Bethesda Showcase before, but it's like, what are you going to do now? Xbox and Bethesda and Activision and Blizzard and King Showcase. It's like, it doesn't quite roll off the tongue, does it? And especially with all these publishers, like there needs to be some sort of brand cohesion. I feel the same. So the same way that casual people can see State of Play, see Nintendo Direct, and they see that and they get excited and they're like, "Well, cool." Xbox hasn't quite got there yet, so hopefully, like you said, he or she is able to come up with something that will conceptually be have the same effect.
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty, big news, really. This is probably the biggest news. Everybody's been speaking about it. It's very drama heavy. It's very saucy. It's very juicy. You probably saw about it around the initiative and around Perfect Dark. I said at the top of the show, the director of Perfect Dark has left the initiative. For those not in the know, the initiative was one of the studios that Xbox, well, it was the only studio that Xbox has built from the ground up following its acquisition episodes since 2018 and onwards. And it was, the initiative still is a bit, but was full of like, industry veterans. It was like, God of War developers. It was like taking people from Activision, Rockstar, Rocksteady, all of these like amazing studios. Since we've heard like reports scattered over the last 6 months, and we've spoken about them, and we kind of said no big deal, kind of brush it off. That like this director has left, or this like design lead has left, and it's like people leave and go and about and whatever. That's probably no big deal. It seems maybe it might be because approximately half of the core team, so the team that were like started and were there at the beginning, has now left.
Yeah,
and
damn.
There has been some like people who are in the know, like journalists and whatever, have reached out to devs and everything to try and get a bit more information. But before we get there, the history of it is essentially that Drew Murray, Drew Murray, was that his name? I think it is. He was initially from Insomniac, was on Perfect Dark for about a year and a half, and then left. And now Daryl Gallagher, who used to be the lead over at Crystal Dynamics for the Tomb Raider reboot, he's now the lead. He was there since the beginning, but he got promoted to sort of project lead. And lots of people have since dropped out since then. And it seems that the premise, the initiative was kind of sold as like this kind of studio that would be a lot more flat. And what I mean by my understanding of that, because this is what other people are saying, not me, people more knowledgeable than I am, have said that what that kind of means is that lots of people have, it's not a typical hierarchy org structure. It's like everybody has developments to how the product is going to be, but it ended up becoming a lot more pyramid-like, and so a lot of people have felt that that's not what was kind of sold to them when they joined the studio. And as a result, it's kind of created a bit of conflict about the direction of where the game should go, how it should be done. And a lot of people have left as a result, which is a bit of a bummer because, you never like to see it, especially when this many people are leaving. And the initiative was never a big studio. It was like always about 70, and presumably they were going to grow it more and more. So when we're saying half the team, we're not talking hundreds and hundreds of people, but we are talking a sizable chunk of very talented developers who were in the Xbox game studios and now aren't, which is a real shame. And it sounds like there's been some bridges that have kind of been may have been kind of burnt there a little bit, which is again real shame. But this kind of explains a little bit maybe why Crystal Dynamics had ended up coming in. If you remember, they sort of came in towards the end of
Yeah.
last year to help on development, and so this is the crux of the point. A lot of people have said that because of the way that the initiative was originally supposed to be structured, the way that they wanted to do it was to be like a new way of making games, in the sense that they got a small core team together to create the vision, to create the game, and then they hire contract workers to build, to put the meat on the bones, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it seems that, and that's why it's called the initiative. Take the initiative, get the vets to make the product, and then bring other people in to like fill it out. But it seems that maybe this, because of the way that this has all gone down, the studio philosophy has shifted away from that a little bit.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. So supposedly, a couple of like journalists who have like reported on it now, I think Jez in particular, said that like the team that's now left over are happy with like the direction that the game's taking and everything. So maybe sometimes this stuff leaks quite late, so this might have been a thing that was happening a year ago. But I suppose everything's okay. But it's just a shame, I think, to see, because initiative and everybody has quite high expectations for this game. It's Xbox Studio that they built from the ground up. It was the one that was like in the job posting that someone put quadruple A at some point by accident, or maybe it was on purpose. I don't know. It wasn't an official statement, but everyone has clung to that and been like, this is going to be like, best game of all time. So yeah, I don't know, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Something like that, like you said, it could have been a while ago. This could have all simmered down, and things could have, are relatively going to get back on track. But I think this sort of stuff it leaves scars on the game. It's very, nobody is going to come in and pick up a project or hit the ground running or have the same vision that was pictured by a team of staff that were there right from the beginning, and then 50% of this staff has now left. Like, it's going to affect your game. Like, this game will be probably, it's hard to say considerably worse than what it was intended to be, because it's hard to even put a sort of a value on how that game's gonna look or play or whatever. But like, yeah, it's pretty bad at the end of the day. And like you said, it's a real shame that something like this happened, because not only has it affected the project, but like you said, it's also gotten these people just to move somewhere else outside of Xbox Game Studios and stuff like that. We no longer have these talented people working under us, under Xbox, and that in itself is a bigger hit in the scheme of things,
I think so.
than just one project being left behind. But I wouldn't be, if this is sort of relatively fresh news and it's not like something that's just leaked late and bandages been put over it already and they're relatively back on track. This is the sort of thing which will lead to a delay. 100%. It's going to lead to a delay. You don't lose half of your development staff and then get people to come in and pick up where they left off and not have a delay or not have a dip in quality. Like, it's just not a thing. Like,
yeah, that's right. I'm not sure about quality, because like, they're going to have time. Like, this is one of the things that some of the not insiders, like the informants, have said to some of the journalists, like some of the devs had said that they were surprised by Xbox's patience with how little progress the game had made. So like, it sounds like Xbox are being true to their words in saying that they're giving devs time to like do everything. And I think they want this. They're well aware that the public perception of this studio is to make something high quality, and I think you're right. At the very least, we're looking at a delay here as a result. I mean, we say delay, like it's not like it had a release date, but like, you know, an internal delay. Like if we were thinking 2023, considering the studio got founded in announced it was founded in 2018, we were probably looking at a 2023 release. That's probably reasonable. 2024 now wouldn't surprise me. And onwards,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah.
But like you said, it sounds like it's kind of water under the bridge now, and that this stuff is kind of now running smoothly. But I think, you know, it's kind of one of those things. I can't imagine how hard it is to like start a new like throw a bunch of creatives together and be like make something good. You know, like it's not as easy as that. And you know, we speak about this all the time, but you know, like work culture isn't something that sometimes comes together really easily. So hopefully they found their footing, and you know, hopefully this future with like Crystal Dynamics, because remember that Daryl Gallagher used to lead Crystal Dynamics, so essentially he's been like called up his old buddy. Well, that's what it sounds like, you know. I'm not trying to reduce it, but like he's called up his old buddies and been like, "Do you want to come work with me on like Perfect Dark? It's looking pretty sick." So you know, there clearly has been some push and pull there. Hopefully, it works out for the better, and the right decisions have been made for the final product. But it's a shame there was some mess, and like you said, ultimately the biggest waste here is that a lot of talented people have ended up leaving Xbox and might not ever come back, simply because of the mismanagement there, which is the biggest hit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just losing talent for people that could work on future projects and stuff like that. You know, it's that sort of stuff in the scheme of things is the bigger hit. Yeah, but
yeah, agreed. Okay, so next up, the Xbox Series outsold PlayStation 5 in Europe for the first time last month. Allegedly, this was primarily due to the sales of the Series S. And frankly, this surprises me. This does surprise me. And we've kind of spoken about kind of sales on the show before, and like, you know, is the Series S, you know, is this disparity between Xbox and PlayStation narrowing because of the conductor shortage and the fact that people can't get their hands on PlayStation 5 and are buying Series S's early? Or is it simply because the Series S inherently has a wider audience and people that otherwise wouldn't be jumping into the next gen now are buying a Series S, you know, who otherwise don't have a platform preference? And it seems that, you know, it might be a bit of both. The Series S is really doing some hard work here.
Yeah, I think it is a combination of both. I think it's a combination of the whole chip shortage thing, because you still can't buy PlayStation 5s, you still can't buy Series X's, to be honest. Like, you know, you get the occasional stock in and stuff like that, but and the S is just that it's a really nice entry point, both in price and power, into the next generation. You know, it provides people with that extra boost that the consoles didn't, to achieve, you know, this next gen gap that we've moved into at a very nice price point that's actually affordable. And yeah, I just think all that combined has definitely is the reason why this has happened, I think. And yeah, man, if it wasn't for the S, I think it would be a very different story. The S is fucking pulling us along right now.
Yeah, I think so too. And I guess, you know, it's all the more confounding because, you know, so far this year Xbox has been dead quiet. So it's like, why why now are people buying it? And, you know, it might just be simply because of the fact that, you know, there's been a lot of positive press about Xbox, despite, you know, the kind of reasonably you know, dry. I mean, I say dry, you know, things like Elden Ring are still coming out. You know, we still got all these big releases. They're just multiplayer. Dying Light, you know, was pretty big as well. And, you know, and people that's coming off the back of the Bethesda acquisition and the Activision. You know, maybe this stuff is like permeates into the casual audience more than we give it credit for. Because I definitely don't feel like
I think so.
people pick up on this stuff as much, but news travels fast and wide nowadays, so maybe people do just they hear that and it's in the back of their mind. They see a good deal for the Series S, it's in impulse buy territory at like $300
Mhm.
or 250 quid, and they're like, well, they just bought Activision, for God's sake. What's going to happen next? They're silent now, but something's going to happen soon. Starfield, it's coming out at the end of the year with the makers of Skyrim, which we all play. So, maybe actually that sort of stuff is having a bigger effect than we give it credit for. Yeah.
I think it. Yeah, I absolutely think it does. Especially when like news articles and stuff like that, they do a good job at generalizing a lot of this stuff as well to sort of help the casual audience. Just like you said, just be like, the news article might just be like Starfield from the people who made Skyrim. It's Skyrim in space. It seems stupid to like people like us that know a bit more about the industry, but that generalizes it and sort of sparks that thing in like a casual gamer's brain. And then, like you said, it might trigger this impulse buy. It might trigger like them to do a bit more research or something like that and find out, Xbox is looking actually pretty shit hot. Maybe my wife won't notice this on the bank statement. It's not that expensive.
Yeah.
Boom, buys it.
Yeah.
Done.
That's right.
I definitely do, and just the fact that it's available, right? When others aren't,
Helps.
it's their only option. I think all that comes into play, and it's just skyrocketed the sales 100%.
Yeah, especially when people
it's not just one thing; it's multiple things, definitely.
Yeah, and especially when people keep hearing about these shortage supplies, the fact that, if your casual person is like, actually I'd really like to play like let's say, Elden Ring, and typically I play on PlayStation 5. Let's have a look online, and the first article that pops up is like conductor shortage might last until 2024. You're just gonna be like, oh fuck this. I can get a Series S right now. I'll get it for a couple hundred quid and just go from there.
Yeah. Instead of stalking websites waiting for a fucking PS5.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not like there's any news that like it's due to end halfway through this year. Maybe things would be different if that was the feeling, but that's not the feeling. The feeling is that this is going on for quite a bit longer. Yeah. Either way, that's great, because there were a lot of people concerned about if this generation would help Xbox pick up momentum. I mean, you should have seen it coming from a mile off because of the amount of investment they've put in first party, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
All right. So, Halo Infinite. That's a video game that happened. I actually completed the event pass last week. Go me. Played some tactical SWAT with manglers and pistols. That's pretty fun. And commandos. Nice. There is one with stalker rifles as well, but I didn't get a chance to play that. I finished the event, but I've got to be honest, as soon as I finished it, I stopped playing. But there was some cool stuff there that I did want. So, that's how it goes at the moment. It do be like that.
Yeah.
The news, however, is that it looks like there is a successor to Halo 5's Warzone with Battle Royale characteristics in the makes. And this comes from a reasonably reliable leaker at Halo Hub GG on Twitter. Obviously take this with a pinch of salt, but there's a fairly damning like screenshot here that looks like it's from an internal build with like menu options, and this mode supposedly isn't coming like anytime like very soon, but it seems like there's something in the works. And another leaker at Serasia 4, good follow by the way if you're into sort of Halo leaks and teasers and stuff, was that this is a thing. So we've had it corroborated by a couple of insiders now, which is usually a good indication. So I'm interested on hearing like your temperature on this, because there's a few, there's different schools of thought around like the next big thing Halo Infinite should do on its multiplayer side. Not that it's probably anytime soon, but whether it should be like a Battle Royale, or it should be like a Warzone, or it should be like Invasion, or maybe a weird mixture of the three. So like, what's your temperature on this sort of thing?
I think my temperature is pretty. I'm pretty hot for it, man. I'm always up for something new to come into the mix and for something to potentially change up from the standard arena multiplayer for sure. and I've been a fan of the way Halo's introduced these new game modes in the past, like Invasion, and what was the other one they did in 5 with the Requisition and stuff? What was it called?
Warzone.
War. Was it? Oh, it literally was Warzone. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I feel like those have all hit pretty nicely for me. I feel like I never didn't like those. Invasion especially was great. I thought like I've wanted that to come back for so long. It's crazy. So these new like innovative game modes that they come up with have always hit pretty well for me. So I'm pretty excited when they say they're working on something like this, and especially if it's like a mix between stuff we've already played and like a battle royale. We're big fans of battle royales. Everyone is. Everyone who plays an FPS does enjoy a battle royale. Let's be real, these days at least. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm a bit more accepting to it than maybe everyone else. But I'm pretty excited for it, man.
Yeah, well,
I think it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's Halo things, isn't it? You're never going to please everyone with these sorts of things. But generally, from what I've seen, the reception to this sort of like rumor or leak is generally pretty warm. People don't want not everybody wants like a pure battle royale, especially because 343 were on record a few years back saying that they're not making a battle royale for Infinite, and I know things change, but whatever. And so yeah, I think one of the bigger things a lot of the content creator like influencers have been saying is that there's like not a casual mode for Infinite. I mean, I'm not sure I entirely agree, because I find Big Team Battle to be quite casual, but a lot of people feel that it's just like sweaty all the time, which is fine. And I think like this would be that kind of really casual, get your friends together, do some crazy Halo stuff kind of mode.
Yeah.
And so this might be the thing that Certain Affinity is working on. We spoke about a while back about Certain Affinity lending a helping hand on a Halo Infinite, a big Halo Infinite mode. So hopefully, what I would like to see is, keep saying it, I want Halo Infinite to hit like an actual cadence of like content and have that roadmap out so we can be secure in knowing where the game's going to be at. And then maybe at the end of the year or halfway through next year for the 1 year anniversary, bang, here's a big new mode to get excited about. And obviously the way that this all ends up interacting with custom modes and Forge is kind of mind-blowing at this point. But
yeah,
this is cool. And you know what, I see stuff like this all the time. They're up to so much stuff. 343, I see so much stuff that's like there's like stuff in the files like just sitting there, and I'm like curious as to what the plan is, like if it's cut or if like something is going to happen with it, or like stuff that's I've seen like 7 map prototypes where like all the geometry is done, it just needs texture working, and it's like, is that like that must be on the map? So whatever, anyway, that's what, once we're in that cadence, I'll be excited to see where this new mode fits into that roadmap.
Yeah, for sure.
But unfortunately for you, this isn't all I've got on Halo Infinite. Yeah, I know. So coming from again Surasia, he or she, they said that there's something else big happening with Halo that they won't talk about, and the quote they used was something more ... tacticsy. And then it turned out, because they said this in reply to the channel I just said, Halo Hub, and when they then said it was about Warzone, they were like, that's not what I was talking about. And so then they said, did I just accidentally reveal some E3 stuff? I'll go into hiding. And like they've been very consistent and good with like on the nose, on the mark, should I say, with like predictions and leaks and rumors. Again, pinch of salt, but like it got me thinking, like as soon as they said that, I was like, Halo XCOM? Halo XCOM? I'd take it. That'd be sick.
Yeah. But I mean, like that's something else, like you said, from like they wouldn't bake that into Halo Infinite, would they?
No,
but its own thing.
No.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, it was just something Halo related that they were talking about.
Oh, yeah. But that, a Halo sort of tactics game like XCOM or Gears Tactics, exactly. Tactics E. That would be so cool. And I think we can all safely say that, you know, the transition into that genre can be done with Gears Tactics, because they did a pretty damn good job with it. And Halo's universe is, well, hell, I might get some hate for this, but it's more expansive than Gears, at least I think.
No, it is.
In
It
terms
definitely is.
of what you can do with it. Yeah, it definitely is. So yeah, that would be pretty fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that would be sick.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, do you know what that reminds me? The the TV show's coming out like next week, isn't it? The Halo TV show.
Oh, is it next week?
Yeah, it's like next week.
Wow.
There's been like previews. People have put out like
It's...
the press have seen the first 2 episodes, and there's been like previews and reviews of those episodes.
Is it all launching at once, or is it week by week?
Oh, I don't know actually. Don't know,
because I need to get my month free of Paramount Plus, or what normally they do, like a week free or a month free on these streaming platforms.
Games Pass are giving
I'll
away a
do
month
that.
free for Paramount Plus.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Well, there you go. Done.
There you go.
Easy clap. Can watch it.
Yeah, it sounds like most people are kind of meh to good on it. Like I think GameSpot gave it an 8, which is like on the higher end of scores I've seen, which is obviously good, really good. Other people are like less hot on it and are like down the sort of 6s. It's on like a 65 on like MeTaCrItIc or something, and for TV shows that's like kind of good. It's not bad. It's like lukewarm, which for like which is honestly not that bad. But it's a lot of people have gotten a huff about it because one of the show writers has said like, oh, we didn't really look at the games to like when we write the show. We didn't really like draw from the games, and a lot of people, you know, were having a bit of a fit about that. Yeah, which I was like, well, like it's not like shows or movies like based on games have ever had a good history, you know.
Exactly.
Like 2 examples I can think of, like The Witcher and Arcane, are not like direct clones of the games. You know, they're based off other material, and which is based off the book. I know the game's based off the book, but you know, it's still a lot of people criticize the difference between the games and the book, so there is a big cavern there. So they come off other materials, and that's important because like games are good not just because of the way something is told on paper. You know,
it's a different industry. Just let them work their magic. Just let them take some material, some source material or whatever. Like I feel like games that TV series and movies that try and relate too much to the games, it becomes painfully obvious, and it becomes some weird hybrid, and it's just crap. It just doesn't work. Exactly. So just like it's a different industry. Just give them some lore and let them work with it. Like, let them have their own spin-off on it. It doesn't need to take from the games, you know. They know how to make a TV series. They don't know how to make a game, so let's just let them make a TV series.
Yeah, I agree. And allegedly, it was supposedly Pablo Schreiber is one of the standout characters, the guy who plays Chief, which is good to hear because I was, you know, the direction they have gone with Chief is quite different. I'm not opposed to it, but it's like, you know, he will take his mask off. He's got a different voice than he does in the games. I'm blanking on the guy's name that does it in game. But you know, apparently he does a good job and it's a good fit. So I'm happy to hear that. And it like aesthetically looks like really good. Not only is it like high budget, but all the costume design is like there's no right to be that good. Like, at least it will look good if nothing else. But yeah, I'd like to watch it at some point. So we'll have to see how it does.
Yeah.
Alrighty, we're coming up to our final 2 stories for today because we are coming up to sort of 2 hours and 20 minutes here. That's just how it goes, unfortunately. So the first thing is that there was a new Starfield video called Made for Wanderers, and to give you the too long didn't read, it was sort of a sit down with the lead devs, with God Howard at the table as well. Some of the important things they said is that it's very much like old school hardcore RPG. You know, that makes me think of like Outer Worlds was very much down that route of older hardcore RPG with like, you know, pick your background, pick your class, pick your you know, a lot of Bethesda games have done that, but a lot of people criticize Fallout 4 for dumbing that down a little bit. So it's like back to that a little bit, which fine by me. There's a lot of tech based on real-world scanning and photogrammetry as well. I know Hellblade 2 has done a lot of real-world scanning, which is what makes that game so damn good. Looks so good,
Yep.
so goddamn good. There was also like a very short, maybe like 4 or 5 second snippet of what looked like in-game. I'm not going to say gameplay, but it was like in-game stuff. One of the companions, which was like one of the robots, and it looked very good, looked very nice. Hard to say how the game's going to turn out visually because it's a Bethesda game, but it is next gen only, so it's like I really can't like get my head around how this game is going to look because like I think there are going to be cross-gen games that are going to look better than this game despite it being next gen on like a detail level, I think Horizon
I
Forbidden
think so.
West is is going to look better than Starfield.
I think so.
On like a detail level, so but we'll have to see. They spoke about a number of factions. They spoke about one called the United Colony, which is like a future space republic, but idealized. They spoke about the Freestar Collective, which is like your space western fantasy out on the frontier. They spoke about Ryuchin Industries, which is like corp life, like space corp. And then they spoke about the Crimson Fleet, who were like the space pirates, just as like a handful of some of the factions there. Sounds pretty sick.
Sounds great.
One of the other things they spoke about is kind of like how the morality intertwines with some of these factions. So, for example, wanting to be good but joining the bad faction, like the pirates. So for example, like in Skyrim, it was quite hard to be like morally aligned good, but then go and do like the Dark Brotherhood and start killing. Like you had to kill someone, didn't you, to actually join it in like Oblivion or maybe Skyrim as well. I can't remember. So they were saying that they've tried to work these systems together in that you can join a bad faction like the pirates by being an informant for the like the space police to still experience the storyline, but you become an informant. So I thought quite a nice bit of thinking there. Hopefully it's not as black and white as that. Be good but join bad. We'll have to see. They said that they've updated like the conversation and like the persuasion system that they've been using, and they've essentially been using the same one since Oblivion across Fallout 3, 4, and Skyrim as well, and that's kind of been updated to make it feel organic. And lastly, they said they want the player to ask, why are we all here and what's next for humanity? Wow. Metaphysical. I just want to fly into a black hole. If I can't fly into a black hole and have like an interstellar moment where I fall through like the Tesseract, I'm going to be sad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll uninstall and I'll give it a terrible user score on MeTaCrItIc.
Yeah. Oh, 2 at least.
Yeah. At least. But yeah, no, it all sounds really cool, really positive. Yeah. Sounds bloody great. This game is definitely...
Sorry, I was just going to ask you, like, what's like the one thing that you're looking to that you want to see from Starfield that's going to get you excited? Is it like visuals or gameplay or like skill tree? Like, what is it for you?
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, for me, I would like to see some skill tree stuff. I think it would be interesting to know how the combat's going to play out. And like, will it be? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Sort of how like will they go for a similar system to like Fallout or something like that, or would they go like again something similar to Skyrim where it's based on whatever you're using, you sort of level up and become more experienced with it as you go. But then it's a lot less dense, I think, when it comes to that, because I feel like there's just kind of guns and that'll be it in Starfield. Like I can't imagine in that sort of timeline and this sort of era, like hand-to-hand combat, one-handed, two-handed, that sort of stuff. That's not really going to be a thing. It's kind of going to be more Fallout-y, shooty kind of thing. But yeah, I think it'd be quite interesting to see all of that come into play, and for me, just like equipment as well. I think it would be really interesting to just see how like what you can do with your ship. And like what kind of like cool like high tech stuff you can use, like if you get on a planet and you land on a planet, can you just throw like a fucking cube down that will like scan the fucking planet for you and give you like, or just something like that, some like cool like high tech gear. I think that would be really cool for me. And then factions, like genuinely, I'm not just saying that because it's there.
They
I
do some
love
bloody
that
good
sort of
factions.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that sort of stuff in Bethesda games. Like doing Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood was some of my favorite memories in Skyrim over the main story. So that sort of stuff is really important to me as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say that sort of stuff is what I want to see and what I'm kind of looking forward to the most. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's interesting to hear. And what I can tell you is that because I remember we've spoken about like leaks in the past from Starfield, and one of the big leaks matched up pretty well to some of what they've been speaking about here, like word for word, some of the factions. So
Yeah.
there's like a degree of like validity to it there. And one of the things that they said, obviously, don't know if it's true or not, but the leak matched up reasonably well around the leveling is that it has organic leveling like Skyrim. Again, like don't know how that works. How are we gonna have a skill system like that's as dense as Skyrim, like two-handed, one hand, like what are like sneak, like what are the things gonna be here? What are the skill trees gonna be in this grounded like sci-fi NASA punk setting? So
Mm.
allegedly organic leveling. And the second thing is that any sort of like the the powers, quote unquote, are going to be more biotech, and they compared it to like Prey,
Oh.
which made me raise an eyebrow because I thought actually as Prey unraveled, some of the powers actually got very cool and very interesting, and you can imagine like
Oh yeah.
you know like a fringe faction on Earth, like reasonably far in the future, are like just getting into that like kind of cyberpunk like level of technology where there's like those kind of biotech augments. You can imagine going to another planet where actually they fucking eat like magical squids and they give you squiddy powers, like things like that.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah, thank you. Or like you bathe, or like you bathe in the fucking cosmic light of the nearby moon strongly, and that gives you moon powers.
Moon Knight. You become Moon Knight.
I don't think that's biotech though. Now that I think about it, that's just straight magic. That's like moon magic.
It's just a really fucking cool idea.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So yeah, I think like that's. But like I agree, it's like it's hard to imagine as much as like I understand that as a system. It's like yeah, but still, like how does that? Like how? What are my biotech powers here? Like what am I? Like you said, like what's the equipment? Like am I just shooting guns? Am I going to have like a taser stick? Am I gonna have a machete? Like do things get more exciting than that? You'd hope so. It's just I think it's hard to put into image pictures, and I think that's what makes Starfield quite an anomaly in that it is in a bit of a interesting space. Like Outer Worlds is like kind of fantasy sci-fi, where it's like a bit wacky. It plays loose and fast with its own rules, so you can kind of do shit. And as a result, you have plasma guns and you have normal guns and you've got like electric shit and there are like crazy melee weapons. Starfield's not as much like that, and it seems to be a bit more grounded. So it's just like, how are we going to get to the point where I can have exciting magic equivalent powers, if that even is what they're trying to do? I think it's hard to imagine until I see it.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I found it quite tough to put into words when I was trying to explain it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely.
That's right. Lovely. Okay, that's not Skyrim. That's Starfield. And moving on to our last story, then, is around Moon Studios, developers of Ori. This is annoying.
Yeah.
This is really annoying. Yeah. It's come out that the two leads of the co-founders of the studios have been not very nice, Tim. They've not been very nice in the past, building a toxic work environment, frequently making inappropriate comments, refusing to provide positive feedback or encouragement, and more. And some people have since piped up on Twitter or sent anonymous messages to journalists and verified themselves or whatever, saying all of it was done in the name of like creativity or like creative quality and like putting people through horrible work conditions and like borderline abuse wasn't a word that was used. I think there was a line that was drawn there, but it was like really horrible, really toxic, like name calling. Like one of the screenshots that I saw that was happening in the Discord group that have since been published was like, nobody, from one of the co-founders, nobody cares about your opinion, and then another one, you're retarded. Like this is not work environment kind of
Whoa,
like
yeah, that's
language, is
not
it?
okay, dude.
Yeah, which is just so it's just annoying because like Ori is such a like Where the Wisps is one of my favorite games ever, and it's a story about like empathy and like care and like friendship,
Hmm.
and it's just like it was sad.
Doesn't really,
It's
yeah,
sad. um
yeah, yeah, yeah. You hate to see it, man. Um, it's just I don't know. There's not really much more you can say. Obviously, they just need to. It's good that it's being brought out into the light, and it's good that you know now it will change, hopefully. And I think this sort of stuff with what's happened with Blizzard in the past and everything like that, I think it's kind of giving people the courage to speak up a little bit more and stuff like that, and actually realize. Maybe prior to this, they didn't even realize and then they were just like, holy shit, like, oh, this environment is really bad. It's like we should do something about this. We should like, yeah, contact someone and get something sorted here. But they were just dealing with it up until now.
yeah,
And yeah, man, it sucks because they make great games, but hopefully we'll just find out the culprits of this, trim it down, whip them back into shape, and well, let's not say that. That's kind of not okay.
don't whip
But
anyone.
you kind of know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just good that it's coming out. It's bad that it's coming out, but it's good as well.
Yeah, agreed.
So
And like supposedly it's a bit better now than it used to be, and like some steps have been taken to try and alleviate those issues. But like supposedly this was a big reason why Xbox stopped working with Moon Studios. You know, and because some of the staff that Xbox were lending were just not being treated well, and Moon Studios ended up burning bridges, which is like a fucking shame because like I've said on the show, like I would love it if Xbox, like if there were to be acquisitions that happened, Moon Studios seems like a perfect like fit. They're an up and coming studio. They've delivered two critically acclaimed hits. They're remote, so it would be reasonably easy to do, I assume. And their next game is supposedly like an action RPG like Diablo like, which it's gonna slap because these clearly the team they've put together are like really good developers, but like this sort of treatment and communication, it's not only gonna push people away, it's just shit because like we've all worked in environments where someone is just not nice and it festers and it lingers and it
it's
really isn't,
horrible.
it's not worth it. Nobody deserves to be treated like that. And I think there is this problem of kind of like a like an overly creative team. Like there was this kind of thought that that the team didn't need like an like middle management. Do you know what I mean? And which is
Mm.
funny because obviously, like the popular thing is that everybody hates middle management. Oh well, my line manager. But sometimes those are kind of stop guards to prevent this shit from happening because the person who's literally the founder of the company is like, calling you slurs and shit. It's like, well,
Yeah,
maybe someone who isn't a prick, like who actually has social skills, can like communicate this to me. And that's the thing. It's like, I think acknowledging limitations sometimes, acknowledging that maybe you are a creatively minded person who's good at producing and publishing and designing, but maybe you need to lend the, give this role to someone else, allow someone else to communicate this down the hierarchy.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, yeah, I couldn't agree more. These sort of roles, it's different. Yeah, there's managing a project, and then there's managing people. They're very different things.
That's it.
And they require different personalities and different skills and stuff like that. So, it is a lot of companies do have someone dedicated solely to just managing people, right? I mean, a lot of
That's right.
people see it as a HR department and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
for reasons like this, that they can get positive feedback and stuff like that from their managers from the technical standpoint, and then they can sort of deliver it to them in a more humane way, rather than
That's
just
right.
an idiot being like, I don't have time for your shit, because the people in charge, let's be honest, they're probably under a crunch period and a lot of pressure as well. So these things they might not mean in that way, but they're just like, fucking shut up. I don't care about your opinion. Just get it done, sort of thing, because they're under so much pressure too. And you can alleviate that pressure if you just get someone else to look after people, right? And then just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
There are ways that you can alleviate pressure off everybody.
it sounds like they had real issues. Whether that was caused by work related stress or performance stress from the founders or not. It's still obviously not okay. And because one of the other stories I'm just remembering now that I saw was another woman. I say another woman. It wasn't all women who had spoken up, but there was one of the women said that during her interview for Moon Studios, she was like interrogated about if she's going to be having a baby. And one of the friends who already worked at the studio said that the person who was interviewing her, one of the founders presumably, said, "I'm not going to bring her on just to pay her maternity." And it's like, this is like, supposedly the headquarters is in I think Austria, even though it's a remote studio. Like I said, to people work remotely around the world. That's illegal here in the UK, for obvious reasons. It's gender discrimination. And so yeah, it's not a good look. It's maybe not on the same severity as some of the other things we've had the misfortune to have to speak about, but it's just not. It's not nice. And I particularly empathize with this, not just because I love Ori as an IP and those stories and those games, but like I work purely remotely as well, and I'm like, I've built up a thick skin, but like I have found myself being in positions where I have been like very stressed and oversensitive to emails, simply because you don't get the same tonality, and you don't get the same vibe that you get when you're speaking to someone. You read an email and you're like, this is it, I'm fired, they're going to report me, I'm going to have my house like raided, and literally the email just says like, have a nice day. So I empathize with this kind of, you can have horrible emails, but for somehow it's even worse when it's just words on a screen.
I totally see that 100%. Yeah, and I've had experience in that myself, so
yeah,
definitely.
All right, well, I mean, best luck to the team there. Hopefully everybody who's not happy has managed to sort of move on, and hopefully the steps are being taken to make sure this is a more reasonable work environment, because clearly they are a talented team, and they don't need another studio. They don't need another report like this sort of derailing their work at the cost, especially if it's at the cost of other employees. But other than that does it for the news today. Sorry that it's been so long. If you've managed to stick around to the end, you're a goddamn legend. This might actually be the longest one we've done yet.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
But that's how it is. So, Tim, any closing thoughts for today before we head off and come back next week with Wonderlands, hopefully?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. No closing thoughts from me. But yeah, obviously looking forward to talking about that next week. And what was that? What was the other thing coming out as well? There was something else coming out.
Something else coming out.
What was it?
Like this week?
Right at the top of the list. Yeah. Something else this week as well. Not that we'll... But Ghostwire. It'll be interesting to talk about Ghostwire as well next week.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, we won't be playing that but don't have PS5s. But it'll be interesting to talk about. And but apart from that, no, it's been a pleasure.
Lovely. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for sticking around today. If you have anything to say, anything to tell us, maybe we got something wrong, let us know in the comments.
Probably did.
We usually do. But we will catch you next week. Hope you have a lovely week. Bye.
Bye.